The Major League Baseball All-Star Game, also known as the Midsummer Classic, is an annual professional baseball game sanctioned by Major League Baseball and contested between the All-Stars from the American League and National League. All-Stars are selected by fans for starting fielders, by managers for pitchers, and by managers and players for reserves. The game is usually played on the second or third Tuesday in July, and is meant to mark the symbolic halfway point of the MLB season, though not the mathematical halfway point, which, for most seasons, falls within the previous calendar week. Both leagues share an all-star break, with no regular season games scheduled from the day before through 2 days after the all-star game. Some additional events and festivities associated with the game take place each year close to and during this break in the regular season. The 1939 Major League Baseball All-Star Game was the 7th playing of the Midsummer Classic between the All-Stars of the American League and National League, the two leagues comprising Major League Baseball. The game was held on July 11, 1939, at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, New York City, the home of the New York Yankees of the American League. The game resulted in the American League defeating the National League 3-1.
CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System, takes you to the All-Star Game. Greetings, baseball fans. This is Mel Allen greeting you from Yankee Stadium in New York City, scene of baseball's midsummer highlight, the annual All-Star Game, conceived in 1933 and now almost set for its 7th renewal. You might call this a midsummer day's dream, to paraphrase an ancient playwright. For the very thought of this gigantic spectacle out in front of us fires the imagination, really excites the fancy. It just opens your eyes to a terrific show. The stars of both major leagues. It is a grand show, ladies and gentlemen. From north, south, east, and west, they've come pouring in a steady stream into the heart of New York to sing the praises of these ball players. Sturdy National League fans are standing firmly behind their league's team and are just as sturdily opposed by a block of solid American League adherents. The American League backers point out that the National League has won only 2 of the All-Star games, while the American League has copped 4. National League backers counter with the claim that the law of averages is on their side and cite the fact that the National League has won 2 of the last 3 games. Well, perhaps in a little while, a couple of hours, it should be established which side has the best of the argument. Maybe, maybe not. Who can tell? You can argue all day long about the merits of the 2 leagues and never get anywhere, but that's baseball. Right now, the American League is out on the field taking their infield practice. As you know, this year it's the American League's game. By that I mean that the American League is the home team playing in an American League party. Each year they change up. The American League players are wearing their home uniforms. Each member of the American League team wearing his home team uniform. But now, for a moment, while we're waiting for this ball game to get underway, let's take a look through the past of this all-star ball game, which started in 1933. Let's have a quick look at the records. Since the Dream Game was started in 1933, some 247,389 fans have watched the all-star team's action. The largest crowd was in 1935 at Cleveland, when 69,812 saw the Americans win a 4-1 decision. Perhaps the smallest crowd came in the game at Boston in 1936. Some 25,556 saw the National League score their first victory 4-3. So much for the attendance figures. We don't have the official figures for the crowd out here at the Yankee Stadium as yet. We hope to have it a little later on. We'll pass it out to you. Suffice to say that there are plenty of people out here. And now, how about some facts about the games themselves? Who were the stars of those early games? Who earned the plaudits of the crowd? And so forth. Well, let's see. The game was inaugurated in 1933. The first contest was played in Comiskey Park in Chicago. The American League Stars won that game by a score of 4-2. The next year, there was no cause for complaint, though the Americans also won that game, 9-7. The National League led with its great pitching ace, King Carl Hubbell, and how he lived up to his nickname. You remember the game, fans? Hubbell hurled 3 innings and retired with a 4-0 lead. During his stay on the mound, he earned everlasting fame by striking out 5 of the greatest hitters in the American League. Any baseball fan will never forget that, whether he was out to the ball game or simply read about it or heard about it over the air. King Carl struck out Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, Al Simmons, and Joe Cronin, one right after another. But the American Leaguers went to work on Dizzy Dean, Lon Warnke, and Van Lingle-Mungo and managed to eke out a slim victory. In 1935, the American League pitching completely overwhelmed the National League team. The National League All-Stars collected but 4 hits, and the Americans won their 3rd straight All-Star game by a score of 4-1. And finally, after 3 years of disappointments, the National League came into its own in 1936. With the great Jerome Herman, or Jerome Hanna, if you will, Dizzy Dean playing the starring role, the National League won its first All-Star game by the close score of 4-3. And it was in this game that a young rookie named Joe Dimaggio made his All-Star debut. In 1937, the American Leaguers, led by Joe Dimaggio, chalked up an 8-3 victory. That was the contest in which the New York Yankees practically won the game all by themselves. It was generally agreed at the time that if manager Joe McCarthy of the Yankees had decided to play the whole Yankee team, he would have won an easier victory, perhaps. Of course, that's mere speculation. Joe Medwick starred for the National League in that game, belting out 4 straight hits, if you remember. The American Leaguers sort of rubbed it in a little bit when they battered their old nemesis, Carl Hubble, who had subdued him in a previous game and drove him to the showers. Well, that's just a quick resume of the past games and brings us up to 1938. In that contest, the National League pitching came into its own. The Nationals won a 4-1 decision, you remember, behind the effective pitching of double no-hit Johnny Vandermeer and Big Bill Lee. And that completes the story of the past games of this All-Star Classic. Brings us up to 1939. And here are the lineups for those of you who like to keep a scorecard of the ball game as it progresses. We'll start with the visitors, which is the National League team today. Leading off, these, by the way, are unofficial lineups. They're supposed to be the same lineup as the men will take the field, but they're only probable at the moment. So we'll call them unofficial. The National League, leading off and playing third base, Stan Hack, H-A-C-K, Hack, of the Chicago Cubs, batting .288 for the season in regular league competition. Hitting in second place for the National League and playing second base, Lonnie Fry of the Cincinnati Reds, whose batting average for the season so far is .307. In third spot on the batting order for the National League, playing right field, Ivol Goodman of the Cincinnati Reds, hitting .326. In the cleanup spot for the National Leaguers, playing first base, Frank McCormick of Cincinnati, hitting .337. Hitting fifth for the National League and catching, Ernie Lombardi of the Cincinnati Reds, hitting .311. Batting in seventh position, playing left field, Joe Medwick of the St. Louis Cardinals, hitting eighth. And playing center field, Mel Ott of the New York Giants, who's hitting .328. Then comes Archie Vaughn in eighth position of the Pittsburgh Pirates, playing shortstop, hitting .293. And pitching for the National League, starting off, will be Paul Derringer of Cincinnati, who's won 11 games and lost 3. There's the lineup for the National League. And now for the American League. Leading off, playing right field, Doc Kramer of the Boston Red Sox, hitting .329. In second spot in the batting order for the American League, playing third base, Red Rolfe of the New York Yankees, hitting .320. In third spot in the batting order, playing center field, the Yankee Clipper, Joe Dimaggio, hitting .435 so far this season. In the cleanup spot for the American Leaguers and catching, another Yankee, Bill Dickey, hitting .328 up to this point in the season. Following Dickey, in fifth spot in the batting order, Hank Greenberg of the Detroit Tigers, playing first base. Hank's been in a bit of a slump recently, and his batting average has dropped below .300 to .286. But he'll probably be up past that .300 mark by the end of the season. Certainly, Greenberg is a .300 hitter, and even with the .286 batting average at the moment, he's one of those boys that can break up a ball game anytime by clouding one over those distant walls or into the stands. Following Greenberg, hitting sixth for the American Leaguers, Joe Cronin, playing shortstop. Joe Cronin of the Boston Red Sox, hitting .291. Another .300 hitter who, at the moment, is under the .300 mark. Incidentally, Joe Cronin is the only big league manager who's playing in the ball game. Following Cronin, Twinkle-Toe Selkirk of the New York Yankees, scheduled to play left field. There may be a change there. We don't know for sure. Selkirk's been suffering from a cold, and there's a possibility that he may not play. However, the chances are very bright that he will be in the ball game. Following Selkirk, hitting 8th for the American Leaguers, Joe Gordon of the New York Yankees, playing second base, batting 311. Pitching for the Yankees, Red Ruffing will start. He's won 11 games and lost 3. And so the batteries for this All-Star game, the 7th annual renewal for the National League, Paul Derringer will start on the mound. He's won 11 and lost 3, as has Red Ruffing, the American League starting choice, with 11 victories and 3 defeats. Piloting these 2 All-Star aggregations out here this afternoon for the National League, Gabby Hartnett of the Chicago Cubs, who manages the Cubs, of course, and assisting him is Board of Strategy, Bill Terry of the Giants, Red Corridon of the Cubs. The Cubs coach, Bill Terry, manages the Giants, of course. For the American League, it's Joe McCarthy of the New York Yankees. Incidentally, Connie Mack was supposed to have piloted the American League team this afternoon. The choice of manager usually goes to the manager whose team wins the pennant in each league during the year. But this being the centennial celebration of baseball, and Connie Mack being the oldest manager in the American League, manager Joe McCarthy of the Yankees bowed out in favor of Connie Mack, but a recent illness has forced Mr. Mack to relinquish his post, and Joe McCarthy has taken it over again. Mr. Mack, we're happy to say, is getting much better. He's going to listen in to the ball game this afternoon, and we hope he certainly enjoys it. As a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, I think it'd be nice if you would join me. Connie's listening in and wishing him a speedy recovery. The grand old man of baseball, Connie Mack. And now just below us, ladies and gentlemen, right to the right of home plate, the entire National League team is lined up in squad formation to have a picture taken of them. Paul Derringer has completed his warm-up duties. He's the starting pitcher for the National League. Red Ruffing, right-hander of the New York Yankees, is still warming up to the left of home plate near the American League dugout. The American League dugout being the one which the Yankees usually hold forth with. And there's the Star-Spangled Banner. And now, in just a moment or two, ladies and gentlemen, the 7th annual All-Star Baseball game will be underway. We've already given you the lineups, and here are the umpires behind the plate. And incidentally, the umpires are now walking out to the plate, so that this ball game will be underway very shortly. Behind the plate will be Big Cal Hubbard of the American League. At first base, Big George Majorkirk of the National League. At second base, Eddie Rommel. You remember him? He was a great pitcher for the Philadelphia A's years ago. Now an umpire in the American League. Eddie Rommel umpiring at second base. Larry Getz of the National League will be at third base. Now these are the umpires in their positions for the first 4 1/2 innings of this ball game. After the first 4 1/2 innings, Majorkirk will be behind the plate. Rommel will move over to first, Getz to second, and Cal Hubbard will take over third base. And now, for those of you who may have tuned in late, very quickly, we'll run through the lineups for you once more. The visitors this afternoon is the National League team. Each year they alternate. One year the ball game is played in American League Park, the next year in the National League Park. So we'll lead off with the National League first. Stan Hack leading off, playing third base. He's with the Cubs. Lonnie Fry of Cincinnati playing second base. Ivel Goodman, Cincinnati Reds, playing right field. Frank McCormick of Cincinnati Reds playing first base. Ernie Lombardi of the Cincinnati Reds catching. Joe Medwick of the St. Louis Cardinals playing left field. Mel Ott of the New York Giants center field. Archie Vaughn of the Pittsburgh Pirates shortstop. Paul Derringer of Cincinnati Reds, the starting pitcher. There are the umpires out at the plate discussing the ground rules. And it's Lou Gehrig, ladies and gentlemen, who's captain of the American League All-Star team, standing out there at the plate, and the crowd is giving him a tremendous ovation. Just listen for a moment. Out there with him is Gabby Hartnett, manager of the Chicago Cubs. Hartnett, Lou Gehrig, and there goes Bill Terry assisting Gabby Hartnett out to enter the confab. We got a lot of Yankee fans out here today, fans, of course, and you know how the Yankees and Giants are here in New York City. If you've never been here, there's quite a lot of friendly rivalry in there. So some of the Yankee fans are taking advantage of Mr. Terry's presence out here on the field. Now here's the American League lineup. We were running through them very quickly for you. Doc Kramer, Red Sox, playing right field. Red Rolfe of the Yankees, third base. Joe DiMaggio of the Yankees, center field. Bill Dickey of the Yankees catching. Hank Greenberg of the Tigers, first base. Joe Cronin of the Red Sox, shortstop. Twinkle Toe Selkirk of the Yankees, left field. Joe Gordon of the Yankees playing second base. And Gehrig is getting another tremendous ovation as he leaves the plate after his conference with the umpires, walking into the American League dugout. He tips his cap as he steps down the steps, disappearing into the American League dugout. Selkirk of the Yankees playing left field, hitting seventh. Joe Gordon of the Yankees playing second base, hitting eighth. And Red Ruffing batting in ninth spot, the starting pitcher for the New York Yankees. According to present plans, after Derringer, who's the starting pitcher for the Reds, pitching 3 innings. Of course, each pitcher pitches only 3 innings. No more, unless the game goes into extra innings, and then the pitcher that's on the mound at that time may continue further. After Derringer pitches his 3 innings, Bill Lee of the Chicago Cubs is scheduled to follow, and after him, Whitlow Wyatt, the sensational pitcher for the Brooklyn Dodgers, coming back into the big leagues after a brief sojourn in the American League where he failed to attract a great deal of attention, but coming back into the National League in the big time with the Dodgers. He's won 8 ball games without a defeat. Manager Joe McCarthy of the Yankees plans to follow Red Ruffing with Tommy Bridges, the curveball artist of the Detroit Tigers, and after Bridges, Bob Feller, the speedball artist of the Cleveland Indians, who's won 14 games and lost 3, having won more games than any other pitcher in the big league so far. And that's the pitching choices according to pregame gossip. There may be changes if... Just a moment. We just had word that these lineups are official, and that's the way the pitchers will enter the ball game, assuming that they do last their 3 innings on the mound. The umpires have taken their positions on the playing field. At the moment, the loudspeaker announcer here at the Yankee Stadium is giving the lineups, and the fans are applauding each name as it's given over the loudspeaker. The umpires, Hubbard, the American League, at the plate. He's standing out there. Major Kurth of the National League at first base. Eddie Rommel of the American League at second base. Larry Getz of the National League at third base for the first 4.5 innings, and then they will change up. When this ball game gets underway, the play-by-play description of the 7th annual All-Star Game will be brought to you by 2 of the nation's outstanding baseball announcers, whom you've heard time and time again on World Series and previous All-Star games. Arch McDonald of WABC here in New York City, who brings to New York fans the day-by-day activities of the New York Yankees and the New York Giants when they're at home. And France Laux of Columbia Station KMOX in St. Louis will alternate in bringing you this ball game. And there go the American Leaguers trotting out to their positions. Red Ruffing slowly walking to the mound, and the crowd gives them a great cheer as the American Leaguers go out onto the field to get this ball game underway. There goes manager Bill Terry of the New York Giants, who's assisting manager Gabby Hartnett in piloting the National Leaguers down to third base. Terry stops for a moment to say a few words with Bill Dickey and umpire Cal Hubbard behind the plate. Arch McDonald of Columbia Station in New York City, WABC, the Columbia Network, will take over the first inning of the play-by-play, and he will be followed in the second inning by France Locks of KMOX in St. Louis, and they will then alternate inning by inning through the rest of the ball game, with yours truly popping in and out as the game progresses along. And now, here is our first play-by-play commentator, a great friend of yours, of mine, a great baseball announcer, Arch McDonald.
Thank you, Mel Allen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. There's one slight change, not in the playing lineups, but in the National League umpires. The men are the same, but it's Getz at first base and Major DeKirk at third. So the correct umpiring lineup is Cal Hubbard at the plate, umpire-in-chief, Larry Getz on first base for the National League, Eddie Rommel at second, the American League, and George Major DeKirk at third. And now we're ready to play ball, and Stan Hack, left-handed hitting third baseman of the Chicago Cubs, assumed his position at the plate. Batting left-handed, his current 1939 average is 288. He stands motionless at the plate. Big Red Ruffing from Chicago, Illinois, winner of 11 and loser of 3 in the current campaign, rubs the ball up, takes the gloss off the new ball, and steps into pitching position. He gets his sign from Bill Dickey, starts a slow wind-up. Here's the first pitch, and it's right down the middle for a called strike on Stanley Hack. One strike on Stanley Hack, first hitter in the All-Star game. Ruffing is ready to pitch again, winds up. Here it comes, and he hits one foul to the left back of third base, and that makes the count 2 strikes. Hack steps out for a moment. Ruffing gets the new ball, blows on his pitching hand. It's 2 strikes on Stanley Hack, first hitter for the National Leaguers, playing third base and leading off. Ruffing steps off, smooths out a little dirt in front of the mound. 2 strikes on Hack. Outfield is playing him straight away. Infield the same. Ruffing looks down at Dickey, who comes up off his haunches. The wind-up. Down comes the pitch, and it's high and inside. Ball 1, a fast ball, forcing Hack to move away. 2 strikes and 1 ball is the count. Red takes a look back at his outfield, and who wouldn't like to look at an outfield like that? 2 great outfields here today. Here's the wind-up. Next pitch, and he goes down swinging for the first out. Hack went down swinging for the first out. One man is out. Now, if you're superstitious, you know the old baseball axiom, if you strike out, you'll always win, that first man up. We shall see about that. Junior Fry, another left-handed hitter, playing second base. Linus Fry of the Cincinnati Reds at the plate. Batting 307. Second straight left-handed hitter in the lineup. 1 out, none on. And the American Leaguers are playing him straight away. Ruffing winds up slowly. He throws. The ball is hit slowly down to Joe Gordon. He comes up with it, throws to first, and he's out. Gordon to Greenberg, second to first for out number 2. Fry grounded out, second to first. Gordon to Greenberg. 2 men are away now. Nobody on base. And here's Ivel Goodman, left-handed hitting right fielder of the Cincinnati Reds, playing right field for the National League today. 326 is his batting average. 3 straight left-handed hitters have faced Ruffing so far. Dickey gives a sign. Ruffing squares away. Here it comes. Fastball inside. Ball 1. The American Leaguers are shading Goodman a bit to the right. Dimaggio playing in right center. Here's the wind-up by Ruffing. Here's the pitch. He hits one foul to the left of our broadcasting booth, and that makes it 1-1 on Ivel Goodman. 2 men out, and the National Leaguers have for the first inning. Game at the Yankee Stadium in New York City. Ruffing gets the new ball, rubs it up a bit. Dickey flashes a sign, comes up off his hunches. Ruffing is ready. Here it comes inside, forcing Goodman to back away from that dish, and it's now 2 balls, 1 strike. People are still coming in the stands, and it's quite a crowd here. Official figures will be announced later. 2 balls, 1 strike is the count. Goodman the hitter, 2 men out, nobody on, first inning. Here's the next pitch from Ruffing. It's low and inside. That makes 3-1. Fastball below the knees and inside. 3-1 on Ivel Goodman with Frank McCormick on deck. There are 4 straight Cincinnati Reds in the lineup. After Hack of the Cubs, it's Fry, Goodman, McCormick, and Lombardi, all of Cincinnati. Here's the next windup by Ruffing. The pitch, and he hits a long fly ball out to deep right field. And back under it is Kramer, near the wall, about 15 feet in front. He gets it, and the side is retired. Goodman flied to Doc Kramer within about 10 feet of the wall in deep right. Side is retired for the National Leaguers in order. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left on base.
And so the score at the end of the first half of the first inning of the 7th annual All-Star Game finds the National Leaguers failing to score on Red Roughing, who put the National Leaguers 3 and 3 down. We couldn't help but reflect in the past for just a moment as Roughing stepped on the rubber to pitch the first ball to the first National League hitter, who was Stan Hack. Mine sort of drifted backwards into the past to Wrigley Field in Chicago last October when the Yankees were playing the Chicago Cubs in the World Series, because the first man that Roughing faced when he pitched his first game for the Yankees against the Cubs was this self-same Stan Hack. But the story was a little different this afternoon, because the first time that Roughing faced Hack, if memory serves correctly, Hack singled sharply to left field. Well, we're getting ready to come into the last half of the first inning with Kramer, Rolfe, and Dimaggio to face Paul Derringer. There's the long throw down to second base, and Doc Kramer of the Boston Red Sox steps into hitting position.
As Kramer comes to the plate, he's batting .329, leading off for the American Leaguers and facing Paul Derringer. He and Roughing have the same records, 11 wins and 3 losses. Kramer squares away, has a very unorthodox batting stance, left-handed hitter. Derringer starts a long wind-up. Here's the first pitch to Doc, and he hits the ball over shortstop into left field for a base hit with Doc Kramer of the Boston Red Sox. A single over shortstop into short left field. Medwick throws the ball into second base, and there's a man on first now with nobody out, and Red Rolfe, the raving redhead from Pennacook, New Hampshire, is up. Batting second, his usual spot in the Yankee lineup. He's batting .320, playing third base for the American Leaguers. Outfield straightaway, Derringer throws to first, he can't get him, and the ball is thrown back in by McCormick. Rolfe steps into the batter's box. Kramer's on first, nobody out. Here's the stretch. A look at first. Derringer throws, and it's low. Ball 1. Count is 1 ball. Red Rolfe, the batter. Rog Kramer on first base. First hit of the ball game. First man up for the American Leaguers. Derringer steps on into position. He throws. There goes Kramer. And a long fly ball hit out to right center field. Back goes Mel. He's under it. He takes it. And Kramer jogs back to first base. Ott took that long fly ball with a hit and run on in right center about 380 feet from the plate. And here's a hand for New York's famous Yankee Clipper, Joe Dimaggio, leading the major leagues with a batting average of .435. He's a right-handed hitter. The National Leaguers move the outfield to the left, and Derringer steps on. Kramer takes the lead off first. Here's the pitch to Dimaggio. Strike 1 call just above the knees in the strike zone. 1 strike on Joe Dimaggio. Rog Kramer's on first base. 1 out. Derringer takes a stretch, looks at Kramer. Here's the pitch to Maj. He hits a long fly ball out to center field. In comes Ott, and he takes it for the second out. Line drive from the bat of Dimaggio into center field. Kramer remains on first base with 2 men out now, and here is Bill Dickey, the 3rd straight Yankee in the lineup coming up. Pride of Little Rock, Arkansas. Long, rangy left-hand hitter and great ball player. Dickey is batting in the cleanup spot, and he's hitting .328. Rog Kramer of the Boston Red Sox is on first, 2 men away. Derringer looks at first. He throws. Strike 1 called on the outside corner. A fast ball. It's 1 strike. Dickey is the hitter, and Kramer is on first. 2 men away, last of the first inning. Derringer takes a look at first base. Here's the next pitch outside. That evens the count at 1-1 on Bill Dickey. No score in the ball game as yet, in case you tuned in late. Dickey steps into position. Derringer takes a stretch and look at first. Then he throws to Dickey, who hits a high pop fly. And back there under it goes Archie Vaughan. Back of second base on the grass, and he takes it, and the side is retired. Dickey popping out to Vaughan in back of second base. No runs, 1 hit. No errors, 1 left in the last of the first inning, and still no score.
0-0 it is as we go into the second inning of this all-star game. And facing Red Roughing in this first half of the second inning will be 3 powerhouse hitters for the National League: McCormick, Lombardi, and Medwick. Lombardi, who was chosen by the Sporting News as the most valuable player in the National League last year. And we have on the American League squad, though he's not in the ball game at the moment, the man who was chosen as the most valuable player in the American League, Jimmy Fox, as well as the outstanding manager of the year, Joe McCarthy of the New York Yankees, who's piloting the American Leaguers. Incidentally, fans, there's one person we missed out here today, and that was Al Schatt, the clown of baseball. He's out on the coast, and because of previous commitments, He's unable to be here at the All-Star game, although he's always donated his services before, and he's unable to make the jump this year. Well, Al, we certainly miss you, boy, and perhaps we'll get to see you in the World Series. And now, ladies and gentlemen, as we go into the first half of the second inning, we give you our next play-by-play commentator from Columbia Station KMOX in St. Louis, a man who's been in more World Series, perhaps, or as many as any other baseball commentator, a great fellow, Franz Blocks.
Thank you, Mel Allen, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Going into the first half of the second inning here, and Frank McCormick of the Cincinnati Reds will be the first man at the plate. For the National Leaguers, McCormick's batting average during the campaign to date is .337. Ruffing steps in on the mound to get his signal from Bill Dickey, goes in to wind up. Here's the initial pitch, a ground ball going down to short. Cronin juggles it momentarily, recovers. There's the throw. He's out at first. Cronin to Greenberg for the initial out. One down, and that brings up Ernie Lombardi, another Cincinnati player. Cincinnati catcher, bats right-handed. Lombardi's average is .311 at the present time. He'll be followed by Joe Medwick of the St. Louis Cardinals. First half of the second inning, score 0-0. One man down, nobody on. Lombardi batting. Ruffing comes in on the mound. He gets his signal, goes into his windup. Here's the pitch. Foul in back of the plate against the screen for strike one. That calls for a new ball, which is tossed in by umpire Cal Hubbard, who is calling balls and strikes. Ruffing comes in on the mound. He got his signal from Dickey. One man down, one strike is the count on Lombardi. He's winding up. Here's the next pitch. Strike two, call right down through the middle. Bill Terry, manager of the New York Giants, is coaching on the third baseline for the National Leaguers. And Red Gordon of the Chicago Cubs coaching on the first base line. Two strikes on Lombardi. And here's the next pitch. And there goes a drive out to left field for a hit. And Lombardi is on first base. Lombardi sends a line single to left field, the first hit for the National Leaguers. And that brings up Joe Medwick of the St. Louis Cardinals, playing left field for the National Leaguers, has a batting average of .330 at the present time. Medwick is the batter, with Mel out of the New York Giants on deck. One man down. Lombardi on first base. Ruffing steps in the mound. Goes into his stretch. Glances over at first. Here's the pitch. Low. Ball one on Medwick. One ball is the count. We're in the first half of the second inning of this ball game with the score reading 0-0. Charlie rubs the ball a little bit. Steps in on the mound. He got his signal again from Dickey. Goes into his stretch. Glances over at first base. He's all set for the pitch. Here it comes. And strike one. He swung at it. And how? 1-1. He really took a cut at that one. One ball and one strike on Medwick. And umpire Cal Hubbard is taking a little time now to dust the plate off. 1-1 is the count. Medwick batting, a right-hand hitter. Lombardi on first base. One man down. McCormick making the first out. He grounded out Cronin to Greenberg. Ruffing steps in on the mound again. Up to the arm. He's all set. Here's the pitch. And there's a foul ball. Going to the right of the plate, up on top of the stands, making the count read 2 strikes and 1 ball. Another new ball is tossed in. Ruffing standing in back of the mound, rubbing the gloss off that new ball, looking out at the outfield. And he turns around, strolls in on the mound. He got his signal from Bill Dickey. 2 strikes, 1 ball is the count. Up goes the arm again, glances over at first. Here's the pitch, and it's another foul right back of the plate against the screen. And it's still 2 strikes, 1 ball. That ball bounced off the screen back out on the playing field. A new ball is tossed in. Greenberg does the recovering act there and tosses the one that's a foul back to Cal Hubbard. All set to go again. 2 strikes, 1 ball. Lombardi on first base. Each club has 1 hit so far. Kramer, the leadoff man, getting 1 for the American Leaguers in the first inning. Lombardi getting 1 for the National Leaguers here in the second inning. Ruffing steps in on the rubber to get his signal. The count, remember, is 2 strikes and 1 ball on Joe Medwick. Lombardi on first. Here's the pitch. Strike 3 called. Medwick called out on strikes for the second out. And that brings up Mel Ott, who is playing center field of the New York Giants. Mel Ott has a batting average for the current campaign of .328. He'll be followed by Archie Vaughn of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Ott bats left-handed. 2 down. Lombardi on first base. Ruffing comes in on the mound, getting a signal from Bill Dickey. All set for the pitch. Here it is. Outside and high for ball 1. 1 ball is the count on Mel Ott. Archie Vaughn on deck. Lombardi is still on first base. He was the second man up on a line single out to left field. Then Medwick was called out on strike. Ruffing comes in on the rubber again. Up goes the arm. Takes another glance over at first base. He's all set. Here's the pitch. And Melott swung at it. 1-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. 2 down. Lombardi on first base. This is the first half of the second inning of this ball game with no scores registered so far for either side. 1-1 is the count. He's in on the mound again. Here's the next pitch, and there's a fly ball going out to right field. Kramer coming in fast. He's under it, and he takes it for the third out, retiring the side. Melott out on a fly to Roger Kramer in right field. The results there in the first half of the second inning show no runs, 1 hit, and no errors.
We're going to take just a few seconds to pause for station identification. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
And you're listening to the WBBM Air Theater, Wrigley Building, Chicago.
Back out again to Yankee Stadium in New York City, baseball fans, as we come into the last half of the second inning of the 7th annual All-Star Game. And the first 3 hitters to face Paul Dimaggio, pitching the first 3 innings for the National Leaguers, Hank Greenberg, Joe Cronin, and George Twinkletoes Selkirk, the 3 of whom have hit 39 home runs this season between them. There's the long throw down to second, and here we go, the last half of the second inning, as Hank Greenberg steps into hitting position.
Hank Greenberg, a member of the Detroit Tigers, the batter. His average 286 so far during the campaign. A little under par for Hank, but he's still well up there in the way of home runs. He bats right-handed. Derringer's in on the mound, getting a signal from Lombardi. Starts his wind-up for the initial pitch. Here it comes, inside, ball 1. 1 ball is the count on Hank Greenberg, the first man up for the American Leaguers here in the last half of the second inning. Derringer goes into his wind-up again. Here's the next pitch, and there's a high fly going out to short. Left center, Archie Vaughn moving back. He is under it, and he takes it for the out. Had a little trouble judging that one. It was plenty high. 1 away. That brings up Joe Cronin, shortstop for the American Leaguers, manager of the Boston Red Sox. Cronin is batting .291 so far during the current campaign. And George Selkirk on deck. 1 man down. Cronin bats right-handed. It's the last half of the second inning. Derringer starts his wind-up. Here's the first pitch to Cronin, inside and high for ball 1. 1 ball is the count on Joe Cronin. We're in the last half of the second inning, and the score still reads 0-0. Derringer starts his wind-up. Here's the next pitch to Cronin, inside, ball 2. 2 balls and no strikes on Joe Cronin with 1 man down. Lena Blackburn coaching on the first base line for the American Leaguers of the Philadelphia Athletics. Art Fletcher of the Yanks coaching at third. Here's the next pitch, and there goes a drive out to right field for a hit. And it came very near bouncing over Ivel Goodman's head. He had to leap up in the air to spear that one on the first hop. Cronin is on first base with a single. And George Selkirk of the Yankees, left field here in the American League lineup, is the batter. Selkirk has an average of .307. He'll be followed by Flash Gordon of the Yanks. Selkirk batting. Derringer stepped in on the mound to get his signal. Here's the pitch. Low, ball 1. Joe Cronin on first base, 1 man down, the last half of the second inning. Score still reads 0-0. Derringer comes in on the mound to get his signal from Lombardi, goes into his stretch, takes that glance over at first base. Here's the pitch, strike, a curveball, broke very nicely, getting the inside corner, and the count is even up on Selkirk, who stepped back out of the box for a moment, but he's back in there now. Derringer comes in on the mound to get his signal again. Up goes the arm, the count 1-1. Runner on first base. Here's the pitch, and there's a ground ball. Foul down the first baseline. Blackburn had bounced off of McCormick's glove over to Lena Blackburn, who's coaching on the first baseline. The ball was tossed back into Derringer. The count is now 2 strikes, 1 ball on George Selkirk. Derringer strolls back into the mound. Cronin on first base, 1 man down. This is the last half of the second. He's in on the mound. He gets his signal from Lombardi. All set. Here's the pitch, outside and high, ball 2, and the count is again even up. 2-2 on Selkirk. 2-2 with 1 away, and Joe Cronin on first base. Flash Gordon on deck. Derringer's in there. Here's the next pitch, and there's a fly ball going out to short left center. Not so short. Melott moves over, so does Medwick, and Ott takes it for the second out. That's 3 putouts for Melott already in this ball game. And Flash Gordon of the New York Yankees is the next batter. Gordon has an average of .311. with Charlie Red Ruffing on deck. Gordon bats right-handed. 2 down. Joe Cronin on first base. Derringer steps in on the mound. Here's the first pitch. Wide, ball 1. 1 ball is the count. The American Leaguers are now leading in hits, having 2 to the National Leaguers 1. All 3 hits so far have been singles. Derringer's in on the mound. He gets his signal. Here's the pitch, and there goes a fly ball going out to center field. Flats under it. He backs up a few paces, takes it for the 3rd out, retiring the side. The results there in the last half of the 2nd inning show no runs, 1 hit, and no errors. The score, as we go into the 3rd inning, still reads 0-0.
At the end of 2 innings of play so far in the 7th annual All-Star Game, the National Leaguers have gotten only 1 hit off Red Ruffing, that by Ernie Lombardi of the Cincinnati Reds, who singled to left. The American Leaguers have gotten 2 hits, 1 in the 1st inning, 1 in the 2nd inning. Doc Kramer of the Boston Red Sox, the first hitter for the American Leaguers, leading off in the 1st inning, single to left. Didn't get any further, though. And in this last half of the 2nd inning, just finished, manager Joe Cronin of the Boston Red Sox, single to right for the 2nd American League hit. And so though neither team has scored, the American Leaguers have 1 more hit than do the National Leaguers. But, of course, they pay off in runs. As we go into the 3rd inning, Vaughn, Derringer, and Hack will be the batters to face Red Ruffing, who's pitching his last inning for the American Leaguers. And here for the 3rd inning is Arch McDonald.
Vaughn squares away at the plate. He's a left-handed hitter batting .293, member of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Each club has 2 hitters under 300. Ruffing starts his windup. Here it comes to Vaughn, who hits a high fly, going out near the foul line and finally getting outside of Kramer's reach by about 6 or 8 feet. Kramer was over as far as he could get to the right field foul line, up against the retaining wall, and the ball curved foul by something like 6 or 8 feet. 1 strike on Archie Vaughn. Leading off in the 3rd inning with the score 0-0, and Paul Derringer on deck. Ruffing blows on his pitching hand, moves up into pitching position on the rubber. Outfield plays Vaughn deep and just a bit to the right. Ruffing gets his sign from his teammate Bill Dickey, winds up. Here it comes, and there it goes, foul down the left field line. Makes 2 strikes on Archie Vaughn. Ruffing gets the new ball, rubs the shine off. Down at 3rd base, George Major Kurt, the umpire, recovered that ball that went foul and very graciously and obligingly tossed it up into some fans down in the boxes. Ruffing smooths out the dirt in front of the mound now. Archie Vaughn's the first man up. 2 strikes. Squares away at the plate. Ruffing is ready. Swoops over, pivots. Then he throws. There's a guard hit ball hit down to Cronin, who boots it for a moment. And Vaughn is safe on to first. No throw to first. Cronin going far to his right, far to his left. He stopped the ball momentarily. It's a base hit for Vaughn off Cronin's glove. A single off Cronin's glove, and we're all even in hits now, with both the National and American Leaguers having 2 hits apiece. Here's Paul Derringer coming to the plate now. 6 feet 3 1/2, 205-pounder. He bats and throws right-handed. Archie Vaughn is on first base. At this point, Red Rolfe, 3rd baseman for the Yankees, moves in close, anticipating a sacrifice. Ruffing blows away a couple of beetles in front of his face. Here's the first pitch. It's high. Derringer was ready to bunt it. The ball was too high. It's ball 1. When we tell you these players are brushing away beetles in front of their place, we might call this the Battle of the Beetles, because the beetles are flying out there on the diamond this afternoon. Ruffing steps on. In creeps Rolfe. Here's the pitch to Paul. He bunts, but foul to the right of the plate, and that makes it 1-1 on Paul Derringer. Archie Vaughn is on first base, nobody out. First half of the 3rd inning. It's a scoreless tie. The American and National Leaguers at the Yankee Stadium in New York. 7th renewal of the All-Star Classic. Ruffing gets a new ball now from Cal Hubbard, rubs it up for a moment. Off in on the grass now, ready to take care of that bunt, if any. Here's the pitch from the redhead. He bunts foul, back into the screen. That makes it 2 strikes in the ball. Archie Vaughn, who singled off Joe Cronin's glove, is on first in the first half of the 3rd inning and no score. Now Derringer chokes up on his bat. Ruffing, in that characteristic way of his, blows on his pitching hands. He does so often. Rubs his uniform, steps into pitching position with a man on first, nobody out. Takes a stretch, a glance over his shoulder at Vaughn. Then he throws to Derringer, who goes down swinging. And that is the 3rd strikeout for Charlie Ruffing. striking out Paul Derringer. And he also struck out Medwick in the second and Hack in the first. And speaking of Hack, here he is for the second time, having struck out first time up, leading off for the National Leaguers in the first inning. He's up there at the dish now with Archie Vaughan on first. There's a slow throw to first, which Greenberg slowly throws back in because Vaughan was just standing right on the bag. Ruffing has it now. He steps into pitching position. Man on first, one out. Hack squares away, left-handed hitter. Here's the pitch. He hits the first pitch. It's a fly going down the left field line. Over comes Selkirk near the line. It drops in there safely. And going to second base is Vaughan. The throw is down there, but Vaughan is in safely. Vaughan, thinking the ball would be caught, stayed close to first base, and it dropped about 5 feet inside the foul line down the left field line. Selkirk got the ball on one hop through to second, but Vaughan just barely beat the play down there as Selkirk tried to force him. Just barely had time to make it. So it's a single to left field for Hack, the second hit of this inning, and the third off Ruffing. There they are now, one out, the Ducks on the pond. Men on first and second, and Linus Jr. Fry at the plate. Great second baseman of the Cincinnati Reds, a left-handed hitter. Outfield playing straight away. Men on first and second, one out. Ruffing steps off, takes a look back at Vaughan, who's on second. Stan Hack is on first, one man away. Fry at the plate. Ruffing takes a look back at Archie Vaughan. He has a lead of about 10 feet off second. Cronin playing a very deep short. Here's the first pitch inside, forcing Fry to move away from that plate. Ball one. One ball to count, Fry the hitter. Men on first and second, one out. First half of the third inning. No score in the game as yet. Ruffing steps on, takes a stretch and look at Vaughan. Then he throws, Fry hits it down the line, going by first base. And here rounding second, third is Vaughan. He's scoring. And there goes Hack to third base. Fry is pulling up at second. It's a double over Greenberg's head down the right field line for Junior Fry. Scoring Vaughan from second base and sending Hack to third. That sends the National Leaguers out in front, ladies and gentlemen, by a score of 1-0. Men on first, men on second and third, and one out. Bill Terry has gone out to see if Fry is all right. He looked for a moment when he slid into that bag as if he might have been injured slightly, but evidently not. Terry went out there and ascertained that he was all right. So Fry's double. He gets credit for a run batted in. He sends Hack to third with it and scores Vaughan. First run of the ball game. Men are on second and third, one out. Here's Goodman. And he's going to get an intentional pass. There's the first pitch. They pitch out to Ivor Goodman. Last time up, he flied to Kramer in right field. Ruffing looks at third. And there's the second pitch out to Bill Dickey. Again, Ruffing looks over at third base. Here's the third pitch out. Goodman's going to get an intentional pass, which will be the first walk of the ball game for either pitcher. Ruffing is ready. Here's the fourth one and the fourth straight pitch out. Goodman gets an intentional pass. The inning started with Vaughan singling off Cronin's glove. Derringer struck out. Hack single to left field, sending Vaughan to second. Fry doubled over Greenberg's head into right down the foul line, scoring Vaughan, sending Hack to third, and Goodman got an intentional pass. McCormick, who grounded out to the shortstop, is up. The American Leaguers have decided to play deep for a double play. They're not in close to shut off a run at the plate. Hack on third, Fry on second, Goodman on first. One out. Score 1-0 National League. Here's the windup. Pitch by Ruffing, a swing and a miss, and it's one strike on McCormick. One strike on Frank McCormick. He grounded out to Cronin last time up. The American Leaguers are going to gamble for a double play. National Leaguers lead 1-0. Ruffing squares away, looks at third, winds up. Here it comes, fouled into the National League's dugout. And boys, that was really shillelagh. Evidently nobody was hurt, but that ball was hit into there very hard. That makes it 2 strikes on Frank McCormick. The new ball is thrown out to Ruffing. He has his glove off, rubbing it up. He has strong, powerful hands, good grip. Pounds that ball in his glove a couple of times. Gets the sign from Will Dickey. Brushes away a beetle or two. Now he steps into position, looks at third, winds up. Here it comes, and it's strike 3 call. A curveball on the outside corner, which McCormick took, and that's 4 strikeouts for Red Ruffing. who broke off a beautiful jug handle curve on the outside corner. So it's 2 men out now. The base is filled, and Schnazzola Ernie Lombardi at the plate. He got the first National League single back in the 2nd inning. Ruffing looks at third base, winds up slowly, throws to Lombardi, who hits it foul to the right of our broadcasting booth. 1 strike, and Cal Hubbard throws out a new horsehide. 1 strike on Lombardi, ducks on the pond, the base is filled. With Hack on third, Fry doubled and drove in the only run so far on second. Goodman, who got an intentional pass on first. It's 1 strike on Ernie Lombardi. Ruffing looks at third, winds up slowly. Here it comes, and then another foul up into the upper tier of the grandstand, making 2 strikes on Lombardi. Dickey walks halfway out to first base, says a word or two of encouragement to Ruffing, who gets himself a touch of the rosin bag. Has his glove off, rubbing up the ball. Smooths out a little dirt in front of the mound. The Americans are in a tough spot now. They're playing Lombardi deep and to the left. Cronin is way back on the grass. So is Gordon. Ball is juggled a couple of times by Ruffing. He grips those seams, winds up. Here's the next pitch, and it's fouled into Dickey's mitt, but he dropped it. Ball bouncing about 8 feet past him. Still 2 strikes on Ernie Lombardi. Base is filled, 2 men away. Both men who've gone out in this inning were strikeout victims, as Ruffing struck out his 3rd and 4th men. One of them, McCormick, with 1 out on the bases filled. So it's 2 men out and the bases filled now. Time out for a moment. Lombardi steps out. Ruffing taking plenty of time, working very methodically. Takes a look down at his teammate, Will Dickey. Looks at third, winds up slowly. Here it comes inside high, and that makes it 2 strikes and 1 ball. Lombardi steps out of the batter's box for a moment. Gets a little goof of Stutz, puts it on his hand. Ruffing pounds the ball in his glove a couple of times. He's taking plenty of time. He's in a tough spot here right now. Looks down at Dickey. Looks over at third at Hack, winds up slowly. Here's the pitch, and there's a high fly ball hit back of second base with Joe Gordon calling for it. 20 feet back on the grass. He's under it. He has it. And the side is retired as Lombardi pops out to Gordon, and Ruffing got out of a very bad hole. Summary in this inning is 1 run, 3 hits, no errors, and 3 men left on base. 1-0 National Leaguers at the end of the first half of the 3rd.
And we pause again for station identification. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
This is the WBBM Air Theater, Wrigley Building, Chicago.
Back again at Yankee Stadium as we go into the last half of the 3rd inning, with the National Leaguers having broken the scoring ice in the first half of the 3rd to take a 1-0 lead. And incidentally, fans, 3 times in the history of this All-Star Classic, the National League has taken the lead first in the ball game. In 1934, they took the lead, but lost 9-7. In 1936, they took the lead and won 4-3. And in 1938, they took the lead and won 4-1. So if you're superstitious, well, looks like the National League might win. Here we go now, last of the 3rd inning.
Merle Hogue, outfielder of the Browns, is batting in place of Ruffing, hitting .319, right-handed hitter. Derringer starts his windup. Here it comes to Hogue, a slow curve inside, strike 1. Hogue, who wears the smallest shoes in baseball, with a 4 on 1 foot with a 4.5 on the other, is up, right-handed hitter. Here's the next pitch. Hogue swings and fouls it into the screen, strike 2. Merle Hogue, outfielder for the St. Louis Browns, batting in place of Charlie Ruffing, who worked 3 innings, gave up 4 hits, walked 1, and struck out 4. Derringer's ready. He throws, and Hogue goes down swinging, his bat bouncing way out in front of the American Leaguers' dugout. At a very slow curve from the pitching arm of Big Paul Derringer. That, incidentally, is his first strikeout of the ballgame. He has not walked a man. He's given up 2 hits. Roger Kramer, Doc Kramer's up for the 2nd time. He led off in the ballgame with a single to left field. Derringer winds up slowly, outfield straightaway. Here it comes, and he hits it foul. Back of third base, 1 strike on Doc Kramer. Paul Derringer's working. He's working the first 3 innings. 1 out, none on for the American Leaguers. Last at 3rd, score 1-0 National Leaguers. Here's the windup. Down comes the pitch inside, forcing Kramer to duck away from that plate, and it's 1-1 on Rog Kramer. Squares away at the plate. Derringer winds up slowly. Whips that arm down a slow pitch. Slow roller hit down to second base. Taken by Fry over to McCormick, and that's 2 outs. Kramer grounding out second to first. Fry to McCormick for out number 2. 2 men up and 2 men down, and Red Rolfe is coming around. Last time up, he flied to Mellott out in center field. 2 out and none on. Outfield deep and a little bit to the right. Rolfe squares away. Derringer's ready. Here's the windup. And the pitch. Strike 1 call right down the middle. Derringer's mixing them up out there. He has a fine assortment today. Winds up again, working a little faster now. Here it comes. A curved ball inside. Ball 1. The count is 1-1 on the redhead. 2 out and none on. Last of the third. National Leaguers out in front. 1-0. Here's the windup by Derringer. A pitch. Rolfe hits a high foul. Over goes Hack. He cannot get it. It's dropping into the lower boxes back of third base. Lena Blackburn and coaching at first base. Art Fletcher of the Yankees coaching at third, trying to stir up a little rally here. Derringer winds up slowly. Here's the pitch to Rolfe. He hits a fly ball. A line drive up to Vaughn, and the side is retired. Rolfe lining to Archie Vaughn at shortstop for the retiring out. No runs, no hits, no errors. Nobody left as Rolfe lined out to Archie Vaughn. Score at the end of the third. Still 1-0 in favor of the National Leaguers. Mel?
And as we go into the first half of the fourth inning, the National Leaguers coming to bat, the American Leaguers will have a new pitcher. Each pitcher who goes into the ball game is scheduled to pitch only 3 innings. Red Ruffing, who started for the American Leaguers, pitched 3 innings, allowed 4 hits, walked 1 man, struck out 4, and allowed 1 run. 3 of the hits coming in the 3rd inning when the National Leaguers got their only run. As it was, though, with the bases loaded, Ruffing came through with a masterful performance to retire the side. With the bases loaded and only 1 out, preventing the National Leaguers from getting any more runs. And now, walking into the mound to take up the pitching burden for the American Leaders is the ace right-hander of the Detroit Tigers, the curveball artist, Tommy Bridges, who's won 11 games and lost 2 for Detroit this season, making a magnificent comeback this year after slumping somewhat last season. And so it's Tommy Bridges, a right-hander, taking up the pitching duties for the American Leaguers. There's his first warm-up pitch to Bill Dickey. Merle Hogue, incidentally, having pinch-hitted for Red Ruffing, and Ruffing's turn at bat in the last half of the 3rd inning for the American Leaguers. Hank Greenberg, playing first base for the American Leaguers. A Detroit Tiger dashes into the mound to say a few words to Tommy Bridges, his teammate. Manager Joe Cronin, Joe Gordon, the second base combination for the American Leaguers at the moment, are both standing on second base talking to each other. Red Rolfe is in on the grass of the infield, 2 feet away from third base, watching Bridges take his preliminary pitches. And standing in back of the plate is the first hitter that will face Tommy Bridges, Joe Medwick, wearing his familiar number 7. And there's a long throw down to second base, and we're ready to go in the first half of the 4th inning, with the National Leaguers leading the American Leaguers 1-0, and here is Franz Locks to carry on.
Joe Medwick, first man at the plate. On his other appearance in the 2nd inning, he took a call, 3rd strike. Bats right-handed with Tommy Bridges on the firing line now for the American Leaguers. Bridges has a record of 11-1, 2 losses. One of the best of any pitchers in this classic. Gets his signal from Bill Dickey, starts his wind-up. Here's the first pitch to Medwick, low, ball 1. Mellott will be the second hitter of the inning, followed by Archie Vaughn. 1 ball is the count on Joe Medwick. Right-handed batter. Bridges gets his signal again, goes into his windup for the next pitch. Here it comes, and a ground ball going down to short. Cronin takes it on a big hop. There's the throw. He's out at first. Cronin to Greenberg for the initial out. 1 away, and that brings up Mellott. Mellott on his other appearance at the plate was out on a fly ball, out to Roger Kramer, out in right field. There's plenty of partisan Yankee fans here, as well as some New York Giant fans here, and a little cheering and reverse cheering both for Mel. Bats left-handed. Archie Vaughn on deck. Bridges gets his signal, goes into his wind-up, and here's the first pitch to Mellott, a little bit low, ball 1. 1 ball is the count. Mellott batting with 1 man down, nobody on. First half of the 4th, and the National Leaguers leading by a score of 1-0. Bridges starts the old wind-up again. Here it comes, and a foul ball. It's going out in fair territory down the third baseline. Roth coming in, and Dickey going out, and Dickey takes it for the out. 2 down. Ott popped out to Dickey, about halfway down between home and third. That's 2 down. Archie Vaughan, the Pittsburgh shortstop, is the batter. Vaughan had a single on his other trip to the plate, and so far he has scored the only run of the ball game. That was followed by 2 hits by Hack and Fry in the third. Vaughan batting with 2 down, nobody on. Here's the first pitch to Vaughan, strike 1. He swung at it. He tried to stop that swing, but he had gone too far. 1 strike is the count on Archie Vaughan. We'll have a pinch hitter for Paul Derringer if Vaughan happens to get on, because Derringer's through with his 3 innings. Bridges it on the mound again, starts his wind-up for the next pitch to Archie Vaughan. Here's the pitch, ball inside, and the count is even up 1-1. 1 ball and 1 strike with 2 down. The National Leaguers are leading in hits now, having 4 to the American Leaguers 2. Only 1 extra base hit so far. That was a double. Goes to the credit of Linus Fry of the Cincinnati Reds. Here's the next pitch to Vaughan. Strike 2. He took another cut. 2 strikes and 1 ball. 2 strikes and 1 ball. Tommy Bridges seems to have plenty on that ball. Curve is breaking very nicely. 2 strikes, 1 ball, 2 down, nobody on. Steps it on the mound to get his signal again from Dickey. Goes into his wind-up for the next pitch. Here it comes, inside, ball 2, and once again the count is even. 2-2. Ball got away from Tommy when it was returned by Dickey. This is the first half of the 4th inning. This ball game with the National Leaguers leading the American Leaguers by a score of 1-0. Bridges steps it on the mound. He gets his signal. Winding up now for the next pitch. Here it comes. Low. Ball 3. 3-2 is the count. The old 3-2 pitch coming up this time. Vaughan steps back out of the batter's box for the moment. He's back in there now. Bridges walking back to the mound. The count 3-2 with 2 down. And this is the one where both of them are more or less in the hole. Then on the mound, he gets his signal. Starts his wind-up for the pitch. The count 3-2. Here it comes, and it's outside and high. Archie Vaughan gets free transportation. And now we'll see who's coming in. Dolph Camilli of the Brooklyn Dodgers coming in to bat for Paul Derringer. Camilli of the Brooklyn Dodgers coming in to bat for Paul Derringer. Camilli has a batting average of .287 during the current campaign. Bats left-handed. Camilli the batter. Archie Vaughan on first base. Camilli batting. Stanley Hack on deck. We're in the first half of the 4th inning. Bridges looks around at the outfield and gets his signal, goes into his stretch, glances over at first base. Archie Vaughan is taking the lead off. Here's the pitch. Strike 1 called on Camilli. 1 strike is the count. The first half of the 4th inning with 2 down. Archie Vaughan on first base. That's the second National Leaguer to get on. The result of a pitch on balls. However, Goodman was purposely passed in the 3rd inning. Bridges goes into his stretch again. Glances over at first. Here's the pitch. Strike 2. Camilli swung at it. 2 strikes is the count on Camilli. The first half of the 4th inning in this ball game. Archie Vaughan still on first base. 2 men down. Stanley Hack on deck. Bridges getting his signal. Up goes the arm. He glances over at first base. He's all set for the pitch. And it's strike 3. Camilli went down swinging for the 3rd out, retiring the side. The results there in the first half of the 4th inning show no runs, no hits, and no errors. The National Leaguers had 1 man left on base. The score remains 1-0 in favor of the National Leaguers as we go into the last half of the 4th inning.
As we come into the last half of the 4th inning, we'll have a new pitcher for the National League. Paul Derringer, the starting pitcher for the Nationals, having completed his 3 innings on the mound. And it's Big Bill Lee who's taking up the pitching duties for the National League. Big Bill Lee, a strapping right-hander who pitched the Chicago Cubs into the National League pennant last year. Derringer, in the 3 innings in which he pitched, allowed only 2 hits, walked nobody, no walks, struck out 1 man, allowed no runs. And if the National Leaguers should maintain their lead through the rest of this ball game, Derringer will get credit for the victory. And now coming in the last half of the fourth inning, facing Big Bill Lee, will be Joe Dimaggio, Bill Dickey, and Hank Greenberg. Joe Dimaggio, who has been appropriately nicknamed by our own Arch McDonald, the Yankee Clipper. Here we go now as Joe steps into hitting position the last of the fourth inning.
Joe Dimaggio, the first batter. He was out on a fly ball to Mel Ott on his other trip in the first inning. Lee's winding up. Here's the pitch on a ground ball down the third baseline. Hack takes it in back of the bag. There's the throw. He's out at first. Hack to McCormick for the initial out. Dimaggio grounded out Hack to McCormick on the first pitch. One down, and that brings up Bill Dickey of the New York Yankees, a left-handed batter. And Dickey on his other trip was out on a fly ball to Archie Vaughn. Vaughn going back to make the catch. Bats left-handed with Hank Greenberg on deck. The last half of the fourth inning, the score 1-0. Here's the first pitch. It's a little bit high for ball one. 1 ball is the count. Lee steps in on the mound. He got his signal from Lombardi. Goes into his windup for the next pitch to Bill Dickey. Here it comes. Ball 2. The pitch was low. 2 balls and no strikes. 2 balls, no strikes. 1 man down. It's the last half of the fourth. Lee's in on the mound. Starts his windup for the next pitch. Ball 3 outside. 3-0 on Bill Dickey, a left-handed batter. Second man up for the Yanks, or rather for the American Leaguers here in the last half of the fourth. Lee goes into his wind, and here's the next pitch. Strike 1 call. The count is now 3-1. 3-1 on Bill Dickey with 1 man down. Dimaggio, the first man, grounded out Hack to McCormick. Lee goes into his windup for the next pitch. And it's ball 4 low, and Bill Dickey walks. That's the first American Leaguer to walk. That brings up Hank Greenberg of the Detroit Tigers, the American Leaguer's first baseman. He was also out on a fly ball to Archie Vaughn on his other trip. That was the second inning. Bats right-handed. Joe Cronin, the Boston Red Sox on deck. Lee steps in on the mound. Here's the first pitch. Foul ball to the left of the plate for strike 1. A new ball is tossed in. Lee is standing in back of the pitcher's mound now, rubbing the gloss off that new ball. Looks out at the outfield, turns around, comes in on the rubber to get his signal from Lombardi. 1 man down, Bill Dickey on first base. Greenberg is the batter. 1 strike is the count. Lee's in on the mound. Here's the pitch. Strike 2. He took a cut at that one. 2 strikes on Hank Greenberg. In the last half of the fourth inning. And again, Lee looks out at the outfielders, then turns around to take his stance on the mound. Bill Dickey is on first base. Got on the result of a base on balls. Up go the arms. Glances over at first base. He's all set for the pitch. Here it is. Ball outside and high. Looked like Greenberg was tempted there for a moment. Came very near taking a cut at it. 2 strikes, 1 ball, 1 man down. Dickey on first. Up go the arms again. Lee's in on the mound. He's all set there. Here's the pitch. And there's a high foul to the left of the plate. Going up on top of the stands. And the count remains the same. 2 strikes, 1 ball. Lee's rubbing up that new ball that was tossed into him. Bill Dickey on first base with 1 away. On the mound, gets his signal from Lombardi. And here's the next pitch, and there's a line drive out to left field for a hit with Dickey stopping at second. Hank Greenberg sent a line single out to left field, putting Dickey down on second. That brings up Joe Cronin of the Boston Red Sox. This is Cronin's second appearance. He got a single in the second inning. Bats right-handed with George Selkirk on deck. The last half of the fourth, the National Leaguers leading 1-0. Runners on first and second, 1 man down, Cronin batting. Lee's in on the mound. He gets his signal. All set for the pitch. Here it is. Strike 1 called on Cronin, and a curveball that broke very nicely, getting the outside corner. 1 strike. Comes in on the mound. Up go the arms again. Glances down at second base. Keep that runner a little closer. Here's the pitch. Low ball, 1-1. 1-1 is the count. Kirk Davis of the St. Louis Cardinals, along with Harry Danning of the Giants, just now going down to the bullpen for the National Leaguers. Lee's in on the mound again. Count 1-1. All set for the pitch. Here it is. Ball 2 wide. 2 balls and 1 strike on Cronin, with Bill Dickey down on second base, Hank Greenberg on first base, and 1 man down. 2 balls, 1 strike. Here's the next pitch. Foul in back of the plate, and the count is now even up 2-2. That calls for another new ball. 2-2 on Cronin, who steps back out of the batter's box for the moment. 2-2. Comes in on the mound. He got his signal. Greenberg on first base. Dickey down on second base. All set for the pitch. Here it is. And it's strike three. Cronin went down swinging. His bat slipped out of his hand and went very near out to Archie on it short. That's 2 away, and that brings up Selkirk, the Yankees left fielder for the American League, member of the New York Yankees. And Selkirk on his other trip to the plate was out on a fly ball to Mellott out in deep center. Still have runners on first and second, 2 down. Selkirk batting, a left-handed batter. Lee's in on the mound. He gets his signal. Here's the pitch. Wide, ball 1. Flash Gordon on deck. 1 ball is the count on Selkirk. Runners on first and second. Lee steps in on the mound. All set for the pitch. Here it comes. Ball 2 outside and high. 2 balls and no strikes. 2 balls, no strikes. Selkirk batting. Runners on first and second. Greenberg on first base. Bill Dickey down on second. Lee steps in on the mound, goes into his stretch. He's all set for the pitch. Here it comes. And there goes the drive going out to right field. And Goodman tried to make a shoestring catch. He missed. A run is in. Dickey scores. Greenberg reaches third. The ball was relayed in by McCormick. That is from Goodman to McCormick to Lombardi. It's a hit for Selkirk. That ties up the ball game. Bill Dickey crosses the plate. Greenberg reaches third. It was a hit for Selkirk. Goodman tried to make a shoestring catch. Looked like he might have been hurt a little bit on the play, but evidently not. He's up and staying in there, and Joe Gordon is the batter. The ball game is tied up now 1-1. The last half of the fourth with runners on first and third. Gordon batting. Here's the pitch. Wide, ball 1. Gordon bats right-handed. 1 ball is the count on Flash Gordon. Hank Greenberg over on third. George Selkirk on first base. Bill Lee steps in on the mound. He got his signal. All set for the pitch. Here it comes. And a ground ball down to Vaughn, and it glances off of Vaughn, going out into left field. Greenberg scoring. I don't know whether that's going to be a hit or an error. It was rather a hard ball, though, at that, and it's one of those kind that can be scored either way. Greenberg scored. It's an error for Archie Vaughn, the first error of the ball game. Selkirk stops at second, and Tommy Bridges is the next batter. Gordon on first base. Archie Vaughn charged up with the first error of the ball game. That puts the American Leaguers in the lead by a score of 2-1. Bridges bats right-handed. There's the pitch, and a foul ball coming back against the screen for strike 1. Greenberg and Dickey have scored this inning to put the American Leaguers in the lead. Selkirk is on second, Gordon on first, Tommy Bridges batting with Roger Kramer on deck. Lee comes in on the mound again. He's all set. Next pitch, wide, ball 1-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Up goes the arm again, glances down at second base, getting set. Here's the pitch, ball inside. 2 balls and 1 strike on Tommy Bridges. Bats right-handed. Runners on first and second. Sit on the mound, gets his signal from Lombardi. Here's the next pitch, strike 2, call. 2-2 on Bridges. 2 balls and 2 strikes. With Flash Gordon on first base, George Selkirk down on second. And 2 down. The last half of the fourth inning, the American Leaguers leading by a score of 2-1. Lee steps in on the mound. He got his signal again. All set for the delivery. Here's the pitch. Ball 3, low. And the count is now 3-2. 3-2 on Tommy Bridges. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Lee goes into his stretch, glances down at second base. Here's the pitch. Both runners going. Strike 3, call. Tommy Bridges called out on strikes for the third out, retiring the side. The results there in the last half of the fourth inning show 2 runs, 2 hits, and 1 error, which was charged up to Archie Vaughn. 2 men left on base. The score going into the first half of the fifth inning reads American Leaguers 2, National Leaguers 1.
We pause again for station identification. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
You're listening to the WBBM Air Theater, Wrigley Building, Chicago.
ready to go in the first half of the fifth inning of this All-Star game being played out here at Yankee Stadium in New York City. And we got plenty of action on the last half of the fourth inning as the American Leaguers came from behind. They were trailing 1-0 to take a 2-1 lead. As we go into the fifth inning, the first hitter to face Tommy Bridges, pitching his second inning for the American Leaguers, is Stan Hack of the Chicago Cubs, and here's Arch McDonald.
In two previous trips to the plate, Hack struck out in the first and singled to left in the third inning. It's 2-1 in favor of the American Leaguers. Hack, a left-handed hitter up there at the plate. Tommy Bridges steps on the mound. The outfield is playing Hack straight away. Bridges winds up in a jerky sort of fashion. Then he throws. Hack swings and misses. One strike. A very slow breaking curve right over the heart of the plate. One strike on Stan Hack. He's had 1 for 2 on the day. Squares away at the plate. Bridges grips the seams. Dickey comes up off his haunches. Here's the throw. Wind up. He rocks in the box. Down comes the pitch. High inside. A fastball. That makes it 1-1 on Stan Hack. First man up, first half of the fifth. The American leaders leading 2-1. Bridges is ready. Winds up slowly. Then he throws. Hack fouls it off to the left, and that makes it 2 strikes and 1 ball. This is his third trip to the plate. He struck out in the first, and he singled the left field in the third. New ball is thrown out to Bridges. Slight left-hander, Tennessee boy with the Detroit Tigers. Has the finest pitching record of any American League pitcher in this game. Here's the next pitch, outside. Ball 2, and that evens the count 2-2 on Hack, who is the leading man for the National Leaguers in the fifth inning. Score 2-1 in favor of the American Leaguers. Bridges starts his windup. Here it comes, outside. Ball 3, and 3-2 is the count now with the pay ball coming up. Bridges nervously steps off the rubber for a moment. Bill Dickey, down on his haunches, flashes the sign. Outfield straight away. Here's the windup. Here it comes. He goes down swinging. That's the second time Hack has gone down swinging in 3 trips. That's Bridges' second strikeout. Total of 6 strikeouts for the American League pitchers, Ruffing and Bridges. Ruffing had 4 and Bridges 2 in 1 1/3 innings. Ruffing's 4 was in 3 innings, and here's Fry up. He had 1 hit, a double. He drove in the only run for the National Leaguers in the third. Here's the windup. Pitch is outside. Ball 1. Fry grounded out to Gordon in the first inning, doubled, and drove in the National League's only run in the third. Count is 1 ball, 1 out. Here's the windup by Tommy. The pitch hit down the line to Greenberg, who boots it for a moment, then takes it, throws to Bridges, and he's out at first. Greenberg to Bridges, who covered first for the second out. Ball was a hard-hit ball that was bobbled momentarily by Hank, but he had plenty of time to retrieve the ball and throw to Tommy Bridges, who covered. 2 men are out now with nobody on base, and we're going to get a pinch hitter for Ivel Goodman. Ivel Goodman, the right fielder, who might have been injured a little bit when he went after Selkirk's line drive. It's Phil Herman, captain of the Cubs, batting in place of Goodman. He's a right-handed hitter, batting .270. Here's the first pitch, and he swings and misses at a low curve, strike 1. Bill Herman of the Cubs batting for Goodman. 2 men out, none on base. Herman's a right-handed hitter. Here's the windup, and the pitch fouled back of the plate. That makes it 2 strikes. New ball is thrown out to Tommy Bridges, winner of 11, loser of 2 on the 1939 campaign. He takes the gloss off, looks down at Dickey, winds up slowly, jerkily. Then he throws, and it's high. Ball 1, 2 strikes and a ball. Herman batting for Goodman. Here's the windup. And the pitch, strike 3, called down the middle, and no doubt about it. As the side is retired in order, Bridges striking out 2 of the 3 men. He now has a total of 3 strikeouts in 2 innings. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left in the first half of the fifth. The score remains 2-1 American Leaguers.
As we come into the last half of the fifth inning, umpire Cal Hubbard at the plate goes over to talk to manager Gabby Hartnett, who's piloting the National League All-Stars. And then umpire Hubbard's running over to the American League dugout now for a moment to consult with the manager, Joe McCarthy. It may be that now we're going to have a change in the umpires. As the game started off, umpire Cal Hubbard of the American League was behind the plate. Major Kurth of the National League at first base, Eddie Rommel of the American League at second base, and Larry Getz of the National League at third base for the first 4.5 innings. From now on, for the remainder of the ball game, Major Kurth of the National League will come behind the plate. Rommel of the American League will go over to first, Getz to second, and Hubbard will move on down to third base. Umpire Hubbard is still in the dugout. Time is being held up here for a minute. The game is being held up. Time has been called. We're having a few lineup changes, too, which we'll check for you and pass on to you. In the National League lineup, there's a change. Herman having batted for Ivald Goodman. Goodman will leave the game, and Terry Moore of the St. Louis Cardinals will go into center field. And Mel Ott, who started in center field, will move over to his old position, right field. That's the position which Ott plays with the New York Giants, always in right field, although upon occasion, manager Bill Terry has shifted him to third base in a pinch. The announcements are now being made over the loudspeaker system out here at the Yankee Stadium. He's announcing the umpire changes, which we gave to you a moment ago. As we go into the last half of the fifth inning, the first hitter to bat for the American Leaguers will be Doc Kramer of the Boston Red Sox, followed very likely by Red Rolfe, and then the Yankee Clipper, Joe DiMaggio. Umpire Major Kurth standing out behind the plate, talking to Ernie Lombardi, the Cincinnati Reds catcher, who's catching for the National Leaguers. Apparently checking lineups. He had a couple of cards in his hand, which probably were the lineups. As a matter of fact, that's what he was doing, checking it with the loudspeaker announcer. And now we're ready to go in the last half of the fifth inning.
Roger Kramer's having quite a time. The Beatles are flying out there. He's up the plate for the third time. He's had one hit. Here's the first pitch, foul, back of third base. Kramer single to left field to start the festivities for the American Leaguers in the first inning, but got no further. And then he grounded out, second to first, Friday McCormick in the third. He's up now for the third time, hitting left-handed, count of 1 strike. Lee winds up slowly. He throws. It's a bunt, but foul. Back of the plate. Kramer attempting to beat out a bunt. Hack was in on it fast. Count is now 2 strikes on Kramer. Lee has the new ball, takes the gloss off. Kramer steps into the batter's box. First man up, last the fifth. American leaders 2-1. Here's the next pitch. Kramer goes down swinging. Lee struck out Kramer. He went down swinging. That's the third man Lee has struck out in 1 1/3 innings. Here's Red Rolfe out for the third time. He flied the Mel out in center in the first, and he lined out to Archie Vaughn to end the third inning. Left-handed hitter. Lee starts his windup. Here it comes. Strike one calls. Just about letter high. Fastball. 1 out, none on base, last the fifth. Lee winds up slowly. Then he throws. Rolfe hits a slow hopper down to second base. In comes Fry. He takes it. Throws over to first, and he's out. Fry to McCormick for the second out. Rolfe grounded out, second to first. Fry to McCormick. 2 men are out now with nobody on base, and here is the Yankee Clipper, Joe DiMaggio at the plate. Joe's been up twice without a hit, flying to out in center field in the first, grounding out to Hack at third base in the fourth. Here's the windup by Lee, and the pitch, a curved ball and a called strike. 1 strike on the Clipper, 2 men out, nobody on base. Lee is ready, outfield deep. Here's the next pitch, there it goes, far in the left field. Medwick up against the wall. He leaps, he can't get it. It's a home run for Dimaggio into the left field grandstand. The Yankee Clipper is rounding second base like an express train, and in spite of the fact that he doesn't have to run fast, he is really carrying the mail on that line drive home run, which was about 6 feet outside of Medwick's reach. The American Leaguers go out in front now by a score of 3-1. on the Yankee Clippers. Mighty home run into the left field stands about 325 feet away from the plate. 2 men are out. Dickey up, and here's the first pitch outside, ball one. That's the third run charged to Lee. Derringer was charged with none. Next to Dickey is down the middle for a called strike, and it's 1-1 on Bill Dickey from Little Rock, Arkansas. He popped out to Vaughn in the first, and he walked in the fourth. Lee winds up slowly, throws to Dickey a fastball hit down the line to McCormick, who takes it. There's a race for the bag, and he beats Dickey, and the side is retired as Dickey grounds to McCormick unassisted. Summary in this inning for the American Leaguers, 1 run. It was by Joe Dimaggio, that home run into the left field stands. 1 hit. Errors, nobody left. Score at the end of 5 innings. The American Leaguers 3, the National Leaguers 1.
And the crowd out here got a terrific boot out of Joe Dimaggio's home run blast into the left field stands. The first real display of that vaunted American League power that we've seen so far this afternoon. And that blow put the American Leaguers ahead 3-1. We keep saying Yankees every once in a while. American League lineup is so dotted with American Leaguers. As a matter of fact, there's been quite a lot of talk going around all over the country from coast to coast about the World Series preview angle to this All-Star game. As the ball game got underway, we had 5 Cincinnati Red players in the lineup and 6 Yankees. Derringer and Ruffing, when they went out of the game, left it with 4 Cincinnati players and 5 Yankees. Of course, as you know, the Yankees are overwhelming favorites to capture the American League pennant and go into the World Series to face the Cincinnati Reds, because they are the choice of most folks to win the National League pennant. And so, with so many of the players from each side in the ball game, we do get that bit of World Series atmosphere from it. And now we're ready to go into the first half of the inning. The American League leading the National League 3-1, and here is Franz Laux.
Frank McCormick is the first man up for the National Leaguers. The Cincinnati first base. He's been up there twice, hasn't any hits so far. Bats right-handed. Tommy Bridges winding up. Here's the first pitch and a ground ball going down to second base. Gordon after it. He scoops it up. There's a throw out at first. Gordon to Greenberg for the initial out. McCormick grounded out on the first pitch. 1 down, and that brings up Ernie Lombardi, the Cincinnati catcher. Lombardi bats right-handed. He's had 1 hit out of 2 trips, getting a single in the second inning, and was out on a fly ball to Flash Gordon, who went back in short right to make the catch in the third. Bats right-handed with Joe Medwick of St. Louis on deck. Bridges starts his wind-up. Here's the pitch, and there's a drive going out to left center for a hit, and Lombardi is on first base with his second hit of the ball game. Lombardi gets a line single out to left center, and that brings up Joe Medwick of the St. Louis Cardinals. Bats right-handed. His third appearance at the plate. He hasn't any hits so far. Medwick was called out on strikes in the second inning, and in the fourth inning he was thrown out at first base by Joe Cronin on a hard hit grounder. 1 man down. Lombardi on first base. Medwick batting. Mellott on deck. The first half of the 6th, the American Leaguers leading the National Leaguers by a score of 3-1. Bridges steps in on the mound. Getting a signal. Here's his pitch. Outside, ball 1. 1 ball is the count on Medwick. That's the first hit off of Tommy Bridges since he went into the game. Lombardi on first base. Bridges steps in on the mound again. He's all set for the next pitch. Here it comes, and a ground ball goes down to short. Cronin is after it. He juggles it, and both runners are safe. Both runners are safe. It's an error for Joe Cronin. Lombardi down on second. Medwick on first base. Mellott is up. That's the first error for the American Leaguers, and both errors have been charged up to the respective shortstops. Mellott is up, getting a big hand as he steps up to the plate, and Hank Greenberg walks into the mound to talk with Tommy Bridges. Runners on first and second, 1 man down. Mellott batting with Archie Vaughan on deck. Mellott hasn't any hits so far. He was out on a fly ball to right field in the second inning, and he was out on a pop fly to Dickey to the left of the plate about halfway down to third in the fourth inning. Mellott is batting. Medwick on first, Lombardi down on second. Bridges steps in on the mound. He glances down to second base. Here's the pitch and a ground ball going out to right field for a hit. Gordon knocked it down, but he couldn't make a play on it. It's a hit, and the bases are loaded. Lombardi moves over to third. Medwick down on second. Mellott on first base, and Archie Vaughan is up. Archie Vaughan is the batter. Pittsburgh shortstop, bats left-handed. He's been on both times had a single in the third inning, and he walked in the fourth. And now Art Fletcher is coming out to the plate to talk with umpire Major Kurth. A little conference on out at the mound. And it looks like that might be all for Tommy Bridges here. We'll see in just a moment. That's all for Tommy Bridges. He's going out of the ball game. The base is loaded. He hadn't allowed a hit until this inning. And 2 hits and a walk have gotten him in trouble here. Here's a man coming out of the bullpen. We can't tell exactly who it is, but it looks like the walk of Bob Feller coming in. I believe it's Bob Feller. Bob Feller coming in of the Cleveland Indians. Young Bob Feller coming in of the Cleveland Indians. Feller's record during the current campaign is 14 wins against 3 losses. A right-hander, and he has plenty of stuff when he's right. First man to face him will be Archie Vaughan, the Pittsburgh shortstop, who had a single in the third inning and walked in the fourth inning. Feller hasn't reached the mound as yet. We'll have the customary warm-up pitches. Joe Cronin and all of the American League infield are in there waiting to talk with him. Bill Dickey goes out to have a little conference with Feller before they start their warm-up. And he's talking there now with Dickey. And in just a moment, Dickey will be strolling back here to the plate and take his warm-up tosses. Here comes Dickey now, but instead of strolling, he's trotting back there. Bob Feller of the Cleveland Indians is now the pitcher for the American Leaguers, the third man to be in there for the American Leaguers in the ball game. Is a right-hander taking his warm-up tosses. The bases are loaded. There's one man down. Archie Vaughan will be the batter when play is resumed. And the American Leaguers are leading the National Leaguers by a score of 3-1 in a game that's been plenty exciting here so far. First one side taking the lead, and the other side taking the lead. Bridges was the first man to go out of the game before finishing his third inning. He walked one man. That's the only man that had reached first base up until this inning. And after getting the first man out, McCormick on a ground ball, then Lombardi came through with his second single. And then Cronin made an error on Medwick's grounder, hard grounder. And then Merle, the New York Giants right fielder, came through with a hit. And the bases are loaded. Flash Gordon made a great stop on that ball of Merle. As a matter of fact, he didn't have any chance to make a play on the ball, but he was mighty lucky, showed plenty in getting over there and knocking it down and holding Lombardi at third instead of letting him score. We're all set to go now. Feller is through taking his warm-up pitches. The bases are loaded, and Archie Vaughan is the batter. Lombardi on third, Medwick on second, Mellott on first, Archie Vaughan batting. Redroff goes in to say a few last words to Bobby Feller before he starts. Everyone's in position now. We're all set to go. Feller steps in on the mound. He got his signal from Bill Dickey. Archie Vaughan batting, bats left-handed. Feller's in on the mound. He starts his wind-up for the pitch. Here it is. And there's a hot ground ball down to short. Second, Gordon to Cronin to Greenberg for a double play. Archie Vaughan hit into a double play. Gordon to Cronin to Greenberg, returning the side. The results there in the first half of the sixth inning show no runs, 2 hits, and 1 error, which was charged up to Cronin. And the score as we go into the last half of the sixth innings still reach American Leaguers 3, National Leaguers 1.
What drama was packed into that very fleeting few seconds that just elapsed. With the American Leaguers' lead endangered by the National Leaguers, who had the bases loaded, only 1 out, Tommy Bridges was removed from the ball game by manager Joe McCarthy, despite the fact that Tommy had pitched excellent ball. Joe Cronin's unfortunate error on Medwick's drive down to him. It was a perfect double play ball, put Bridges in a hole, and then when Archie Vaughan, or rather Mellott, singled off Joe Gordon's glove, it put the National Leaguers in an excellent position to tie up this ball game or possibly go ahead. When in comes from the bullpen Bob Feller, that young speedball wizard from the Cleveland Indians. After the tenseness of the situation that existed while Bridges left the game and Feller came in, took his warm-up pitches, and then they got all set to go, Dickey flashing the sign to Feller. With Archie Vaughan, a dangerous man up there at the bat, a left-hander. The bases loaded. And on one pitch, a double play ball to retire the side. That was real drama, the most exciting few moments of this ball game so far this afternoon. So as we go in the last half of the sixth inning, the American Leaguers hold their lead 3-2-1.
Hank Greenberg of Detroit will be the first man up for the American Leaguers here in the last half of the sixth inning. He's had one hit out of two trips, getting a single in the fourth inning. He also scored a run that inning. He'll be followed by Joe Cronin and George Selkirk. Bill Lee is rubbing that ball up a little. It's the last half of the sixth inning. The American Leaguers leading by a score of 3-1. Greenberg bats right-handed. Bill Lee gets his signal from Lombardi. He's winding up, and here's the initial pitch outside and low. Ball one. One ball is the count. One ball is the count on Hank Greenberg. Lee goes into his windup. Here's the next pitch, and it's strike one. He swung at it. 1-1. One ball, one strike. In the last half of the sixth inning. The hits are now 5 for the American Leaguers, 6 for the National. Lee starts his windup. Here's the next pitch, inside and high. Ball 2 and strike 1. 2 balls and 1 strike. Hank Greenberg is the batter. Lee gets his signal again. He's winding up for the next pitch. Here it comes, and it's ball 3, inside and high, making the count read 3-1 on Hank Greenberg. 3 balls, 1 strike. Steps in on the mound, winding up for the pitch. 3-1. Strike 2 called. 3-2. This is the one that tells the story, or at least should. The count 3-2 on Hank Greenberg, the first batter. Lee goes into his windup, and here's the next pitch, inside and high, and Greenberg gets free transportation. That brings up Joe Cronin, the Boston Red Sox shortstop. Cronin has had 1 hit out of 2 trips, getting a single in the second inning, struck out in the fourth inning. That's right-handed. He'll be followed by George Selkirk. Nobody down as yet. The last half of the sixth. Lee goes into his stretch, getting set for the first pitch here to Cronin. Here it comes, and a ground ball down to Fry. Fry juggles it, but he recovers, makes the play to first base. Fry to McCormick for the out. Greenberg moving down to second. He had a double play ball on that one, but he juggled the ball momentarily, enough to let Greenberg get down. And he had to toss Cronin out at first base. 1 away, and George Selkirk is the batter. Bats left-handed. He's had 1 hit out of 2 trips, getting a single in the fourth inning. Greenberg on second, 1 man down. And it looks like Selkirk will be purposely passed. That's what it is. Selkirk is being purposely passed. He got a chance at a double play. Ball 1 wide, ball 2 wide. Ball 3 wide. Selkirk is being purposely passed. Here's the next one, ball 4 wide. Runners on first and second, both men getting on. The result of walks. And Joe Gordon, the Yankee second baseman, is the batter. Gordon was out on a fly ball his first trip to the plate in the second inning to Mel Ott, who was playing center field at that time. And on his second trip in the fourth inning, he was safe at first base when Archie Vaughan fumbled his grounder. So the picture is now Greenberg on second, Selkirk on first, 1 man down, Gordon batting with Bob Feller on deck. Leads in on the mound, goes into his stretch, glances down to second base. Here's the pitch, and there goes the fly ball. Going out to deep left, Medwick going back, and he makes a nice running catch, holding both runners on their respective bases. Medwick goes back to deep left to take that one. Looked for a moment like it was gone. 2 down, and that brings up Bobby Feller. The American Leaguers pitcher, the boy that came in there to relieve Bridges in the first half of the sixth. Feller is still picking out a war club. Finally gets one that suits him, and here he comes going out to the mound. He only had to pitch 1 ball there, and that tough spot that he went in. The first ball to Archie Vaughan, he sent a ground ball down to second base. Gordon fired it over to Cronin. Cronin to Greenberg, and that pulled the American Leaguers out of a bad hole. Feller bats right-handed with Roger Kramer on deck. Runners on first and second, 2 down. Lee's in on the mound. Here's the first pitch, and it's strike 1 called on Bobby Feller. 1 strike. Selkirk on first base. Greenberg on second. 2 away. Into the stretch again. He's all set. Here's the pitch, and it's strike 2. He swung at that one. 2 strikes on Bobby Feller. This is the last half of the sixth. The American Leaguers lead by a score of 3-1. Into his stretch again. Glances down at second base. 2 strikes is the count. Here's the next pitch, and it's strike 3. Feller went down swinging for the third out, retiring the side. The results there: in the last half of the sixth inning show no runs, no hits, and no errors. And the American Leaguers had 2 men left on base. The score remains the same, 3-1 in favor of the American Leaguers as we go into the first half of the 7th inning.
And before we do go into the first half of the 7th inning, we'll pause a few seconds for station identification. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
This is the WBBM Air Theater, Wrigley Building, Chicago.
Back again at Yankee Stadium. As we get ready for the first half of the 7th inning, the National Leaguers coming to bat. They're trailing the American Leaguers now by a score of 3-1. Bob Feller on the mound now, pitching for the American Leaguers, having relieved Tommy Bridges in the last of the 6th inning with 1 man out, pitching 1 ball, which was a double play ball to retire the side when the bases were loaded. We just noticed Red Ruffing, who started the game for the American Leaguers, has already taken a shower and came out of the Yankee dugout, took a seat in the lower boxes, back behind the American League dugout. We're ready to go now, the first half of the 7th inning, and here is Arch McDonald.
In the first half of the 7th inning, Babe Phelps, catcher for the Brooklyn Dodgers, is batting for lead. He's a left-handed hitter, batting .287. Feller starts his windup. Here's the first pitch, low, ball 1 and plenty fast. On Phelps, batting for Big Bill Lee, who worked 3 innings. Gave up 3 hits, walked 3, struck out 4, and was charged with all 3 American League runs. Feller is the 3rd pitcher in for the American Leaguers. Ruffing worked 3, Bridges 1 2/3. 2 2/3, rather. Down is 1 ball, Phelps batting for Lee. Here's the wind up by Bobby, and the pitch, he swings and misses. Strike 1, and it's 1-1. One and 1 the count, and the crowd is talking about this speed ball of Bobby Feller. Folks in Van Meter, Iowa, are certainly pulling for the kid. Here's a long wind up, the pitch, and it's inside. Phelps started to go around, but changed his mind. The ball was too close. There's Red Carden trying to stir up a rally at first base, and Bill Terry coaching at third. 2 balls, 1 strike is the count. Phelps, the first batter, batting for Lee. Feller starts a long wind up. Here's the next pitch. There's a hard hit ball down to Gordon on 2 hops. Gordon over to Greenberg, and he's out. Phelps out, second to first. Gordon to Greenberg. Phelps was batting for Big Bill Lee. And here is Stanley Hack making his 4th appearance at the platter. He struck out in the 1st, single to left field in the 3rd, and he also struck out in the 5th. And 7 strikeouts so far for the National Leaguers, 5 for the American Leaguers. Outfield is straight away. Hack is up. Feller ready to pitch. Here it comes. Low, ball 1. 1 out, none on. First half of the 7th. The American Leaguers in front, 3-1. Feller steps on, gets his sign from Big Bill Dickey. Winds up. Then he throws in the same spot. Ball 2, and it's 2-0. Feller calls time for a moment, steps back off the rubber. Seems to be pretty hot already. It's a beautiful, pleasant day for baseball here. This stadium is almost filled. Here's the next pitch, and it's outside. That makes it 3-0 on Stanley Hack. That time he was trying to jiggle his way to a base on balls. He shimmied all around the plate there and was apparently successful. It's 3-0 now. 1 man out. Up there, 7th inning. Here's the next pitch, way outside, ball 4, and Hack walks. That's the first man Feller's walked since he's been in there. He's pitched to 3 men. With the bases filled and 1 out, he made Vaughn hit into a double play. Phelps started the inning by grounding out to Gordon in the 7th. Hack walked. 1 out, the man on first. Here's Junior Fry at the plate. Left-handed hitter up for the 4th time. He's had 1 hit, a double. That was back in the 3rd inning, and he drove the only National League run with that double. Feller steps into pitching position, stretches, takes a glance at Hack. Then he throws to Fry, low and outside, ball 1. Feller has his back to the stands now. Smoothing out some dirt around the rubber. Cronin and Terry, the coaches at first and third, are making a lot of noise, trying to stir up a rally. Fry steps into the plate. Hack takes a short lead off first, 1 out. Then he pitches right down the middle for a called strike. Just a fast ball straight away. It's 1-1. He was aiming that one with Dickey's big mitt as a target. Now Bill squats on his haunches and back of the plate. Fry squares away. Bob Feller steps on and Stanley Hack takes a short lead off first. There's the stretch, a glance at first. And the pitch. Right 2, called in the same spot. It was a half-speed ball that Feller let him have that time. It's now 2 strikes and 1 ball. Hack is on first base, 1 out. First half of the 7th inning, the American Leaguers leading 3-1. This is the 7th All-Star game at the Yankee Stadium in New York. Feller is ready, stretches, glances at Hack. Then he throws, and there's a hard hit ball out to short right field. In comes Kramer. It's high, he's under it, and he has it for the out. Fry flying to Kramer in right field. Hack jogs back to first. 2 men are out now, and here is Terry Moore of the St. Louis Cardinals up for the first game. First time in this game. He replaced Ivel Goodman, who was injured and taken out of the ballgame. Moore batting .283, outfielder for the Cardinals. Right-handed hitter with Hack on first and 2 men away first half of the 7th. Terry steps on. Feller is ready. Here's the pitch, and he hits a high fly ball with Red Rolfe and Cronin out there under it. Rolfe calls for it, and he takes it on the grass, and the side is retired as Terry Moore pops to Red Rolfe on the grass around shortstop. Side retired in this inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, 1 left. Score at the end of the first half of the 7th remains the American Leaguers 3, National Leaguers 1.
Art, you were just explaining that Ivel Goodman was taken out of the ball game because he was injured. We just received word, though not official, that Goodman has been taken to the St. Vincent's Hospital here in New York City, and it's believed that he suffered a broken collarbone. It happened in the 4th inning. The American Leaguers had 2 men on base when Twinkle Toes Selkirk hit a line drive into right field. Goodman came tearing in fast, tried to make a diving shoestring catch of the ball, turned a somersault as he dove for it, but as he came up, the ball was behind him. And it was on that play that he was injured and removed from the game. And now as we come into the last half of the 7th inning with the American Leaguers at bat, we get a new pitcher for the National League, Bill Lee having completed his 3 innings on the mound. And it's Lou Fetty of the Boston Red Sox, Boston Bees rather, National League, who's won 9 games and lost 3 for the Bees this season. And here we are now, ready to go in the last half of the 7th inning with the American Leaguers at bat.
Again, it's Doc Kramer leading off. He's up for his 4th time. He's had 1 hit. Fetty, the right-hander, starts his wind-up. A long wind-up. Then he throws. Kramer fouls it in back of the plate. Strike 1. New ball is thrown from Lombardi out to Stanley Hack, who takes his glove off and gives it a real massage. 1 strike on Kramer. He singled to left field in the 1st inning, grounded out to second base in the 3rd, and struck out in the 5th. Here's the windup by Fetty. And the pitch. Kramer hits a high hopper down to second base. Fry comes up with it, throws to McCormick, and he's out. First man up in the 7th inning for the American Leaguers. Kramer grounds out second to first prior to McCormick. 1 out now. Red Rolfe up for the 4th time. He's failed to hit in 3 trips to the plate. Flying to Ott, lining to Vaughn, and grounding out to Fry. Fetty takes a long, loose, angular wind-up. Here's the first pitch. Strike 1 called right down the middle. 1 strike on Red Rolfe. Up for his 4th time. 1 out. Last half of the 7th. American Leaguers lead 3-1. Fetty is ready. Here's the next pitch inside, forcing Rolfe to move back, and it's 1-1. Lombardi down on his haunches back of the plate. Flashes the sign. Fetty works very fast. He's winding up again. Here's the pitch. Fouled back. Strike 2. 2 strikes, 1 ball. Lombardi again throws out the new ball. Stanley Hack takes his glove off. He does the rubbing. Fetty gets the rosin bag, steps on into pitching position, outfield deep and a bit to the right. Fetty winds up slowly. Here's the next pitch. Rolfe hits it out over second base. It's going into center field for a single for Red Rolfe. His first hit of the ball game. A single over second base into center field for Red Rolfe. Listen to the roar for the Yankee Clipper, Joe Dimaggio. Rolfe's single was the 6th American League hit. Each league has now had 6 hits. There's one out. Rolfe is on first. Dimaggio got a home run into the left field stands last time up in the 5th is at the plate. Here's the first pitch. High, ball 1. Dimaggio's had 1 for 3. Flying to out in center in the 1st. Grounding out to Hack in the 4th and that home run in the 5th. Here's the next pitch. He hits a high fly ball. And there's Rolfe right around third base. It's foul. He's under it. And it belongs to him for the second out. Dimaggio fouled out to Stanley Hack just off the third base line. First man up, Kramer, grounded out second to first, Fry to McCormick. Rolfe single center, and Dimaggio fouled out to Stanley Hack off the third base line. Bill Dickey is up. He's failed to hit, but walked once in 3 trips. There's a throw over to first base by Fetty. No chance to get Rolfe. He was off just a couple of steps. He stretches, takes a look at Red, throws to Dickey. Strike 1 called. Slow curve. 1 strike on Dickey. Outfield putting Dickey straight away. The stretch, throw to first base, no show. Rolfe is back easily. McCormick throws it in. Again, Fetty throws over. The ball almost got by McCormick this time, but he finally speared it. Rolfe again takes a fairly good lead, and time is called as Dickey steps out. Now Major Kurth moves back into position. Fetty is ready. Here's the pitch way outside. Count is now 1-1. Fetty gets the rosin bag. He's working a little faster than any other pitcher that's been in there except Feller. Looks at first. Throws to Dickey. Outside again, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Rolfe on first, 2 men away, last the 7th. American League in front, 3-1. But he looks at first. Throws to Dickey, who hits a fly ball. Line drive, foul down the right field line. Foul by about 15 feet as it goes into the lower stands. That evens the count at 2 apiece. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 men out. Rolfe on first. Last of the 7th inning, the American Leaguers leading 3-1. Fetty now pitching. Steps into position. Here's the pitch outside, and that makes it 3-2 on Dickey with the pay ball coming up. Three balls and 2 strikes. Fetty steps on. Lombardi flashes the sign. Fetty looks at first. Here's the pitch. There goes Rolfe. There goes a slow hit ball. It's hit down to McCormick. He throws over to Fetty, covers first, and the side is retired. Dickey grounding out McCormick to Fetty, who covered first. In this inning, it's no runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 1 left. Score at the end of 7 innings remains the American Leaguers 3, the National Leaguers 1.
We pause for station identification at this point. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
This is the WBBM Air Theater, Wrigley Building, Chicago.
Back at Yankee Stadium, we go into the first half of the 8th inning. American Leaguers out in front, 3-2-1. Bob Feller out on the mound for the American Leaguers, having relieved Tommy Bridges in the last of the 6th inning. Bridges, by the way, pitched 2 2/3 innings, allowed 2 hits, walked 1, and struck out 3. 2 1/3 innings, rather. Feller having pitched 1 ball as he relieved Bridges, and a double play resulted. The 2 1/3 innings. Bill Lee pitched 3 innings, allowed 3 hits, walked 3, struck out 4, and 3 runs were scored while he was in the box. Lou Fetty now pitching for the National Leaguers. And now we're ready to go in the first half of the 8th inning. The National Leaguers at bat, and here is France Laux.
Frank McCormick of Cincinnati is the first batter. Here's the pitch, and it's strike 1. This is McCormick's 4th appearance at the plate. He hasn't any hits so far in this ball game. Feller steps in on the mound to get his signal again from Bill Dickey. Lombardi on deck. McCormick the batter. 1 strike is the count. Feller starts his wind-up. Here's the pitch, and there's a fly ball. Going out too short. Cronin moves over, and he takes it for the out. McCormick out on a fly ball to Cronin down at short. 1 man down. That brings up Ernie Lombardi, who has had 2 hits out of 3 trips played in this ball game. 2 singles. Bats right-handed. Medwick on deck. Lombardi batting. American Leaguers still leading by a score of 3-1. It's the first half of the 8th inning. Feller gets his signal, goes into his windup. And here's the initial pitch to Lombardi inside. Ball 1. 1 ball is the count with 1 man down. First half of the 8th. Feller steps in on the mound to get his signal. 1 ball is the count. Goes into his windup for the next pitch to Lombardi. 1 ball. Here it comes. Ball 2 inside and high. 2 balls and no strikes on Ernie Lombardi. Lombardi had a single in the 2nd inning, was out on a pop fly in the 3rd, and he came back with another single in the 6th inning, getting the first one to left field, the second one to left center. Both line drives. 2 balls and no strikes. Feller starts his wind-up. Here's the pitch. Strike 1 call, and the count is now 2 balls and 1 strike on Ernie Lombardi. In the first half of the 8th inning in this ball game. 1 man down, nobody on. Feller steps in on the mound. 2 balls, 1 strike. He's winding up. Here's the pitch, and it's strike 2. Lombardi took a cut at it, and the count is even up 2-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Picks up at the rosin bag for a moment. Strolls in on the mound. Count 2-2. 1 man down. He's getting a signal. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Starts his wind-up. Here's the pitch, and there's a ground ball going down to second base. Gordon comes up with it. There's the throw to first. He's out. Gordon to Greenberg for the 2nd out, and Joe Medwick of the St. Louis Cardinals is the next batter. Medwick hasn't any hits so far. He's been on one time. That was in the 6th inning when Joe Cronin booted his grounder. That's right-handed. Mel out on deck. First half of the 8th, 2 down, nobody on. The American Leaguers leading by a score of 3-1. Feller steps in on the mound, getting a signal, starts his wind-up for the initial pitch here to Medwick. Here's the pitch. Strike 1 call. 1 strike is the count. Joe Medwick the batter. 2 teams are tied up on having 6 apiece. He's winding up, and here's the next pitch inside. Ball 1-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. And again, Feller goes back to the rosin bag. Throws in on the mound, getting a signal now from Dickey with the count 1-1 on Medwick, 2 down. The first half of the 8th inning. Goes into his wind. And here's the pitch, and it's strike 2. Medwick swung at it. Feller seems to have that fast one really zipping in there this afternoon. 2 strikes and 1 ball. Then on the mound. 2 strikes, 1 ball, 2 down. Starts the old wind-up. Here's the pitch. And there's a drive going out toward right field. Gordon makes a beautiful one-handed stab on that one. There's the most sensational play of the ball game so far. It looked like it was labeled for a double. And Gordon, racing at top speed, leaped and speared that ball and had to go about 15 feet to keep from falling. He was stumbling all the way. A beautiful play. The results there in the first half of the 8th show no runs, no hits, no errors. The score going into the last half of the 8th inning remain American Leaguers 3, National Leaguers 1.
You can see ball games for the rest of your life and perhaps never see a catch like that one that Joe Gordon just made. Easily the outstanding play of the ball game and the most sensational catch we've seen all season. That was what you can literally call a miracle catch. Gordon running at top speed to his left with his hand stretched out, sticking that glove up there, more or less in a gesture of stabbing at that ball. He himself didn't think, I don't believe that he could have ever gotten it, but he was in there trying, as he always is, and made that sensational catch. Medwick, who hit the ball, no doubt felt that he really had him a base hit there. But that's just the kind of ball that Joe Gordon's been playing all season. Perhaps not making that many sensational catches, but is making plays that, well, it reminds you of old Charlie Gehringer himself. And now we're ready to go in the last half of the 8th inning, and Hank Greenberg is the hitter.
Greenberg, Cronin, and Selkirk, the first three batters here in the last half of the eighth. Petty starts his windup. Here's the pitch, and it's strike one call. One strike is the count on Hank Greenberg, who has been on twice out of his three trips to the plate. He's had a hit, and he walked one. Petty's winding up. Here's the next pitch, and a ground ball down to short. Vaughn takes it on a hop. There's the throw. He is out at first. The throw was in the dirt, but McCormick scooped it up. One away. Greenberg grounded out Vaughn to McCormick. One down, that brings up Joe Cronin, the American Leaguer shortstop. Cronin has been there up the plate three times, had a single in the second inning, struck out in the fourth, and was thrown out by Linus Fry in the sixth inning. Bats right-handed, George Selkirk on deck in the last half of the eighth in this ball game. And the most thrilling play so far has been by Flash Gordon. Petty steps in on the mound, starts his wind-up. Here's the initial pitch to Gordon, or rather to Cronin, and it's strike one call. One strike is the count on Joe Cronin. One man down the last half of the eighth inning. Petty's winding up. Strike two, another one called. Two strikes on Cronin. Petty picks up the rosin bag and steps in on the mound to get his signal from Lombardi. One man down and two strikes on Cronin. He starts his wind-up. Here's the pitch, wide outside. Plenty wide on that one. The count is now two strikes and one ball. Two strikes, one ball. One man down, nobody on. Goes to his wind-up. Here's the pitch, and there's a line drive down to Archie Vaughn at short for the second out. Cronin lined out to Vaughn at short. And George Selkirk, the Yankee left fielder, is the batter. He's had one hit out of two official trips to the plate besides a base on ball. He was purposely passed in the sixth inning. Joe Gordon on deck. Two down, Selkirk the batter. Petty goes into his wind-up. Here's the first pitch. Inside, ball one. Sort of floated that one there, but the pitch was inside. One ball is the count, two down. Petty starts his wind-up. And here's the next pitch, outside, plenty wide, ball two. Two balls and no strikes on Selkirk with two down and nobody on. The last half of the eighth inning, the American Leaguers leading by a score of 3-1. Picks up the rosin bag for the moment. Throws it on the mound, getting a signal from Lombardi. Two balls, no strikes on Selkirk. The last half of the eighth inning. Ball three, the pitch was low. Looked like Selkirk was tempted for a moment. 3-0. Got to come in there with it now. Here's the pitch. Ball four wide. Selkirk walks on four straight pitches. That's the second time, and Gordon is getting a tremendous hand as he steps up to the plate. The boy that pulled that sensational play, and Art just said a moment ago, you called that play wrong. He says it can't be done. It looked like just one of those kind of plays. An impossibility, it looked like to start with, but nevertheless, he came up with it, so that's what counts. Gordon batting, bats right-handed. Selkirk on first base. Here's the pitch. Strike one called on Flash Gordon. One strike with Selkirk on first base, two away. Selkirk has now been on three times out of his four appearances at the plate. Here's the next pitch, and there's a fly ball going down the left field line. Medwick coming over fast, and it's a foul ball, but couldn't quite make it. A foul ball down the left field line. Medwick and Archie Vaughn, Stanley Hack, all three were going after it. A new ball is tossed in. This is the last half of the eighth inning. Waiting on the runners to get back to their respective bases. I thought the ball might be fair. Selkirk was clear around third. Gordon was very near down to second base. The count, two strikes on Flash Gordon. With two down, George Selkirk on first base. Buddy steps in on the mound, goes into his stretch, glances over at first base. Here's the next pitch, inside and high for ball one. Two strikes, one ball. Two strikes, one ball, a right-handed batter. Buddy steps in on the mound. Up go the arms. All set for the delivery. Here it comes, and there it goes, but it's foul. Going into the upper tier of the stands down the left field line. The count remains the same. Two strikes, one ball. A new ball is tossed in. It's fired down to Stanley Hack, who rubs it up a little bit before tossing it in to Petty. Petty then picks up the rosin bag, strolls in on the mound to get his signal from Lombardi. Selkirk on first base. The count, two strikes and one ball on Joe Gordon, who is the batter. Up go the arms again. All set for the delivery. Here's the pitch. Wide and low. And it's even up on Gordon. Two balls and two strikes. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Selkirk on first base, 2 down. The score 3-1 in favor of the American Leaguers. Here's the next pitch. Ball 3, it was high. 3 balls and 2 strikes. And the next one is the one that tells the story. 3-2. Selkirk on first base. Steps it on the mound again. 3-2. Here's the pitch. Starts down, and it's strike 3. Gordon went down swinging for the third out, retiring the side. The results in the last half of the 8th inning show no runs, no hits, no errors. The American Leaguers had 1 man left on base. The score going into the 9th inning, American League 3, National League 1.
And there goes Bob Feller walking out to the mound to pitch the 9th inning for the American Leaguers. And we just noticed, sitting just to the right in the box next to the American League dugout, Walter Johnson, the old big train, who in his day had plenty of speed too. And can't help but think of the thoughts that might be running through Walter Johnson's mind as he sees Bob Feller, the new speedball pitcher of the American League, out there displaying his wares this afternoon. Walter seems to be enjoying the game quite a lot, chatting, laughing, shouts a few words to some of the ball players every once in a while. We've just gotten the official figures on the attendance out here this afternoon. 62,892 people. And if memory serves correctly, that's the second highest total of attendance in this series of All-Star Classics. The biggest total being in the game played out in Cleveland. I think it's around some 69,000. And here we go with Arch McDonald taking over in the first half of the 9th inning.
It's Mel Ott, first man up for the National League. He's had 1 hit, been up 3 times. Feller winds up slowly. The outfield is deep. Here's the first pitch, low and inside, moving Ott away from the plate. 1 ball to count. Ott at the plate. Feller winds up. Here it comes, low and inside again. It's 2-0 on Ott, 2 balls. He moves out, gets himself some dust, rubs it on his hands and the back. Ott squares away. He's guarding that plate closely now, trying to get a walk. Here's the next pitch, right down the middle for a called strike, and it's 2-1. The American League outfield is playing Ott very deep and just a bit to the right. 2 balls, 1 strike. American Leaguers in front, 3-1. National Leaguers have to stir up 2 runs if this game is to continue beyond this half inning. Feller winds up. Then he throws to Ott, who fouls the ball back beneath our broadcasting booth to make it 2-2. Again, Ott calls time and steps out. Feller gets a little rosin, takes off his glove, and is rubbing up the new ball. Archie Vaughan is on deck, and then, of course, will be a pinch hitter. Feller winds up slowly. Here it comes, and Ott hits one in the center field. Dimaggio's coming in. He can't get it. It's a base hit for Mel Ott. His second hit of the afternoon. Hit of the afternoon for Mel Ott, and the first hit off Bob Feller. Ott and Lombardi are the only 2 men in either lineup who have had more than 1 base hit. Ott is on first now, and Archie Vaughan squares away for the 4th time. He's had 1 for 2 officially. A single off Cronin's glove in the 3rd. He walked in the 4th and hit into a double play in the 6th. 1 for 2 on the day. Ott is on first. Greenberg's not holding him on the bag. A little bit back for a left-handed hitter. Pitch, and it's fouled off to the left by Archie Vaughan. Ott on first, nobody out. 9th inning, National Leaguers at bat, score 3-1 American Leaguers. Archie Vaughan, perennial favorite of the Pirates, at the plate. Unorthodox left-handed batting stance is employed by Vaughan. Feller takes a pitch, gets a sign from Dickey, glances over his shoulder at Captain Mel Ott. Then he throws high, ball 1, and it's 1-1 on Vaughan. The American Leaguers have 2 pitchers warming up in the bullpen. We can just barely see their heads from this point. Way out in the bullpen, more than 400 feet away from the plate. 1-1 on Ott. Crowd beginning to pick up the enthusiasm. Feller ready. He throws the right to calls. Vaughn looks back at Major Kurth. Doesn't have much to say. The ball was right down through there on the inside corner, a fast ball. Ott takes a very short lead off first because Feller has a beautiful pitching move to first. Greenberg's about 8 feet back of the bag and 5 feet inside the line. Feller takes a stretch. Vaughn squares away. Here it comes, outside and low, and that makes it 2-2 on Archie Vaughn. I see Johnny Mize of the Cardinals coming up as a pinch hitter next. And he's swinging 3 bats. Time for a moment. Feller's off the mound. Now he moves into pitching position with a man on first, Mel out, who's single to start this inning. Nobody out. Vaughn squares away. He has to watch closely with this Feller. Here's the pitch. There goes a long fly ball hit out in the deep center. Back goes the Yankee clipper. Dimaggio is under it, and he takes it. A line drive from Vaughn's bat to Joe Dimaggio in center field. One man is out. Ott slowly jogs back to first, and here comes the siege gun hitter of the St. Louis Cardinals, Long John Mize. Left-handed hitter. Mize batting for Fetty. As Mize comes up, he brings a batting average for the season of .339 to the plate. He takes a look at those right field stands. A blow in there could tie it up. One man is out, Mel out on first. Mize batting for Fetty. Feller stretches, looks at first, throws to Mize, who swings and misses. 1 strike on Johnny Mize. Mize squares away, hitting left-handed, out on first, 1 man away. Feller steps on, outfield deep. Here's the pitch. Mize swings and misses again. It's 2 strikes on Long John Mize. Feller goosing up those fastballs with the speed of a meteor. 2 strikes. Mel out on first. Tying run at the plate. Score 3-1 American Leaguers, first half of the 9th inning. Feller takes a stretch, looks at Ott, then he throws, and it's strike called. Mize took one letter high. On the inside corner, a called strike. He says a few words to Major Kurth, and then slowly walks away. It's a strikeout for Bobby Feller. And strangely enough, Feller, who's conceded to be the fastest man pitching in this All-Star League game today, struck out his first man when Mize took that third. So it's up to Stanley Hack now. He wants to save the National League. Ott is on first with 2 men away. Feller takes a stretch. Throws low and inside. Outside, rather. Ball 1. Hack's up now for his 5th time. He's had 1 single, struck out twice, and walked once. 1 for 3 on the day. Ott taking a very short lead off first base. Feller takes a stretch. Outfield straight away. Here's the pitch, outside, ball 2, and it's 2-0 on Hack. Nothing on Hack, 2 men away, and Mel out on first base. First half of the 9th inning, the American Leaguers in front, 3-1. Hack, a left-handed hitter, up for his 5th time, 1 hit and 3 trips to the plate. Feller takes a stretch, glances over his shoulder at Ott, throws to Hack. Strike 1 called. Hack protests that strike. It's now 2-1, 2 balls and 1 strike. Hack calls time, steps out of the batter's box. Gets a bit of dust up on his hands, comes up, moves out again. Cronin coaching at first, Terry at third, trying to work up a little rally here. Feller steps into pitching position, glances it out on first, throws to Hack, and it's strike 2 called on the outside corner. That makes it 2-2, and again Hack calls time, steps out, and addresses a few remarks to Major Kurth. Down is 2-2 on Stanley Hack. Mel out on first, 2 men away. 9th inning. Feller steps on, looks at first, throws to Hack, who fouls it back. And it's still 2-2 on Stanley Hack. Dickey throws out a new ball to Bob Feller, who slowly walks back to the mound, gets the rosin bag, glances over at Red Rolfe, who's encouraging him out there. Right now, it's American Leaguers 4 wins, National Leaguers 2 wins. We're in the 9th inning with 2 men out. The man on first, the American Leaguers lead 3-1. Terry and Cronin are trying to work up a rally. Hack steps in at the plate. Feller toes the rubber, glances over his shoulder at Ott. Here's the pitch, and Hack hits a foul ball back of third base into the boxes. He's given Feller a battle. In baseball, no game is over until that last man is out. And so these fans, more than 62,000 of them, are remaining in the stands. Just a few, possibly 100 people are beginning to amble slowly to the exits here in the Yankee Stadium. Now Feller has the new ball. Rubs it, steps into pitching position. Ott takes a lead of about 6 feet off first. Greenberg way back. Here's the pitch, and it's low. Ball 3 on a very low curve, slow breaking. Below Hack's knees. It's 3-2 with the pay ball coming. Dickey down on his haunches in back of the plate. Feller off the mound, gets the rosin bag. Now he throws it down. Rubs his sleeve, steps into pitching position. Ott is on first. 2 men away, 3-2 with the pay ball coming. Feller stretches, glances at first. He throws, and it's strike 3 called. Hack took a third call strike. He protests vigorously to umpire George Major Kurth, but strike it is. The ball game is over, and in this inning it's no runs. 1 hit, no errors, 1 left. The American Leaguers lead 3-1. We'll be back in the summary in just a moment.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
The WBBM Air Theater, Wrigley Building, Chicago.
And here we are back at Yankee Stadium, where the American Leaguers defeated the National Leaguers 3-1. And here's how the runs were scored. In the third inning, the National League hopped off to a 1-run lead when Stan Hack led off with a single and scored on Lonnie Fry's double to right. In the last half of the fourth inning, the American Leaguers went into action. They were trailing 1-0. With 1 out, Bill Dickey walked, and Hank Greenberg followed with a single to left, sending Dickey to second. Joe Cronin of the Boston Red Sox came up to bat, always a dangerous man in the pinches, but he struck out. That was 2 away. Then came Twinkle Toe Selkirk of the New York Yankees, who hit a smashing line drive into right field. Ivel Goodman of the Cincinnati Reds, playing right field, came in fast, attempted a diving shoestring catch of the ball, turned a somersault, but failed to hang on to it. It was a hit for Selkirk, and Dickey scored. Then Joe Gordon of the Yankees came up, hit a ground ball to Archie Vaughan at short, who fumbled it, and Gordon was safe at first, and Greenberg scored on the error, which put the American Leaguers in front 2-1. In the last of the fifth inning, the final run of the ball game came when the Yankee Clipper, Joe Dimaggio, hit a home run into the left field stands. That made the score 3-1 at the end of the fifth inning, and that was all the scoring for the day. And so the American Leaguers won the ball game 3-1. The American League 3 runs, 6 hits, 1 error. The National League 1 run, 7 hits, and 1 error. Red Ruffing was the starting pitcher for the American Leaguers. He worked 3 innings, allowed 4 hits, walked 1, struck out 4 men, allowed 1 run. Tommy Bridges followed Ruffing, pitched 2 1/3 innings, allowed 2 hits, walked 1, struck out 3, and no runs were scored on him. Bob Feller relieved Bridges in the last of the 6th inning with the bases loaded, 1 away, and pitched only 1 ball, and it was a double play ball, retiring the National Leaguers without a run. Feller continued to pitch the rest of the game, pitching 3 2/3 innings, allowed 1 hit, that came in the 9th inning, walked 1 man, struck out 2, both of them coming in the 9th inning, and allowed no runs. Bridges gets credit for the victory. For the National Leaguers, Paul Ehringer of the Cincinnati Reds was the starting pitcher, worked 3 innings, allowed 2 hits, walked none, struck out 1, allowed no runs. 1933, 4-2. They won the second game in 1934, played at New York at Polo Grounds 9-7, first game being played at Chicago. And the third game, played at Cleveland, was won by the American League 4-1. The fourth game, played at Boston. In 1936, the National League won 4-3. In 1937, the game played at Washington, the American League won 8-3. And the 6th game played at Cincinnati, the National League won 4-1. And Here this afternoon, the American League has won again to go out in front 5-2. And so it's been in all these games that the American League has never lost when the game, the All-Star Classic, was played on an American League field. And now, before we leave Yankee Stadium, we'd like to have a word from Arch McDonald and Franz Laux, your play-by-play commentators. And first, Arch McDonald.
Just a word or two, Mel. The hits this afternoon were divided as follows. Stanley Hack got one, a single to left in the third. Fry got a double to right field and drove in the only National League run also in that same inning. Only two hitters in either lineup got more than one hit. Lombardi got singles in the second and sixth, and Merle Hogue got singles in the sixth and eighth. The other National League hit was by Artie Vaughn, a single off Cronin's glove in the third. The National League hits were divided, the American League hits were divided as follows. Kramer got a single in the first inning, Red Rock for a single in the seventh, Joe Dimaggio his home run in the fifth, the only home run of the game. Hank Greenberg got a single in the fourth inning. Joe Cronin got a single in the second inning, and the other American League hit was George Selkirk's in the fourth inning, single to right field. Runs driven in by Selkirk, Dimaggio for the American League, and Fry for the National League. And so the American Leaguers win it 3-1 to go out in front 5-2 on the current series. More than 62,000 people are filing out of the Yankee Stadium now. There'll be another year until the All-Star game, which will be played in 1940 in Sportsman's Park in St. Louis, Missouri. It's been a pleasure to work this ball game this afternoon. It's been a real great ball game between two great teams. And speaking of St. Louis, I want Franz Laux of KMOX in St. Louis to come on and give us some of his impressions of this seventh All-Star game. Franz?
Well, Arch, personally, I think it's one of the greatest games that we've had since they started the All-Star exhibitions back in 1933. I've had the pleasure of seeing all of the All-Star games with the exception of the one in 33, and I think that this game is one of the standouts. There was two or three things that came up there that were really thrilling. Naturally, a packed house always makes a game thrilling, and there in the sixth inning, when the National Leaguers had the bases loaded, and young Bobby Feller came in, only one man down, and pitched one ball, which was a hard-hit ball, but nevertheless it resulted in a double play and pulled the American Leaguers out of plenty of trouble. Incidentally, that play also gave Tommy Bridges credit for winning the ball game, because he was the man that was in there at the time and had to be relieved by Feller. He hadn't allowed a hit up until that inning. Two hits and an error by Cronin put him in a jam with the bases loaded, but Feller took care of the situation very nicely. The other outstanding play, in my estimation, was in the eighth inning when Medwick sent that line drive headed for right field, and Flash Gordon came up with one of the prettiest catches that you can see anywhere. It's those kind that you hear about but seldom see. All in all, it was a great ball game, and I think that everyone that witnessed this game this afternoon is satisfied. And I join with Arch in only hoping that you fans out on the air enjoy the game half as much as Arch and I did in describing it for you. Okay, Mel Allen.
Thank you very much, Franz Laux, and to you, too, Arch McDonald. It was a pleasure working with you. Now the fans are filing out of the Yankee Stadium. It's all over insofar as the All-Star Game is concerned until 1940, and we hope we'll be back with you then. This is Mel Allen saying so long from Yankee Stadium in behalf of Arch McDonald and Franz Laux. We return you now to our New York studios.